Quite as high here. We're still looking at them being in the mid-20s as we go through this evening, so feeling very warm indeed as we go through this evening. Similar across Northern Ireland, we're looking at temperatures around 23, 24 Celsius by 6 o'clock, so very warm end to the day. And across much of England and Wales, temperatures taking quite a while to drop as we go through this evening, and plenty of late sunshine around as well. Overnight, a lot of clear skies for many places. Not everywhere will be dry. A few showers could develop across some parts of northern England and perhaps North Wales as well. And we are likely to see some thicker cloud coming in from the southwest. That could bring a bit of murkiness, a bit of fog in a few places. Otherwise, though, a dry and often clear night, but because of the high humidity, temperatures not dropping a huge amount. Some places will hold up in the mid to high teens, so pretty uncomfortable for sleeping for some. As we go through Wednesday, there will be some showery bursts of rain across the northern parts in particular. Elsewhere, often quite dry, but later on across the southeast, some showery rain could feed in, and some heavy showers may affect parts of Northern Ireland and Northern England later on. But lots of dry weather around yet again, and temperatures in the east are likely to be similar or a little bit higher than today. Elsewhere, a touch fresher.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks to see how you can win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dordme, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Tuesday, the 12th of August. That's a nice symmetry. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Now, the number of non-UK nationals out of work has hit a record high, with nearly 1.3 million foreign nationals now claiming universal credit.
And this comes as more small boat migrants cross the English Channel today, around 250 on top of the 50,000 who've now arrived under the Labour government.
Our political editor, Christopher Hope, has spoken exclusively with the Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, on migrants, on lawless Britain and more.
That's a very good. Mr. Whippy. Thank you very much. Look at that. There we go. There we are. Cheers to GB News viewers, and we'll hear from Kemi Badenoch very shortly. Oh, sorry, I'm going back.
Kemi Badenoch putting her practice. Of course, she used to work in McDonald's. I'm sure she pulled some ice creams then too. But shocking new figures in other news reveal that an A&E worker is attacked every 2 hours as violence in hospitals reaches record levels.
And UK jobs, well, they've hit a 2-year low after Rachel Reeves' tax raid. Vacancies tumble and payroll numbers dip as businesses tighten hiring across almost every single sector.
Now a shift in Ukraine's stance on peace talks, with reports suggesting Kiev could agree to freeze the front line and let Russia keep territory it already holds. All ahead of President Donald Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska this Friday.
And yes, if you haven't noticed, it is another scorcher. Temperatures are set to soar again. Could it reach 34 degrees?
Well, people are packing the beaches. I'm having a day at the seaside. I've already got ice cream all over me, but lots of people enjoying the sunshine as that hot and humid air comes up from southern Europe. I'll have all of the details for you.
Yes, it's much too hot. Best that you stay inside, sit on the sofa, close the windows, draw the blinds and watch GB News.
Far too dangerous to be outside on a day like this.
I think so.
You don't want to break a sweat.
No,
you don't need to.
You don't need to, unless you get particularly exercised by any of the topics that we're talking about.
Well,
for the next
actually,
3
yes,
hours.
I do think sometimes we do enrage you, not purposefully, but just because that's what's happening, you know?
Yeah. Well, I got quite enraged reading that that introduction there, where we said an A&E worker is attacked every 2 hours, and I just think, poor chap. This one person is being attacked every 2 hours.
Tom. Well, it's all the drunk people that turn up in A&E, isn't it? And mentally unwell people who are clearly disturbed. I mean, have you ever been to A&E at night?
I have. Not at night. I'm sure I have at night. I'm sure I have. Not recently, though.
The state of it. The state of it. You might not be seen for 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours sometimes. I mean, luckily for most people, they're seen within a few, but it can get pretty dicey.
And it can just be crowd control more than anything else for some of these.
Well, it's like for some teachers, isn't it? In some of our inner city schools, A&E can be much worse. People are very demanding as well.
But we should be clear, it's on average an A&E worker is attacked every 2 hours, not just one person being constantly attacked.
Yeah, that was a very good job. That was a good joke.
But no, we will be bringing you this exclusive interview with Kemi Badenoch, who's been out and about pulling ice creams for our political editor, Christopher
Yes, what was that other little flag in the ice cream? Was that the...
I couldn't actually see from my vantage point here. We'll have to talk to Christopher
let us know.
about it. Yeah. But do get involved with any of the topics that we're talking about today. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved throughout the programme.
But shall we get to the headlines with Sam?
Tom, Emily, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you. The top story this hour. More than 50,000 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. Apologies here for the sound issues. We'll just get that corrected for you one moment. As I said, more than 50,000 migrants crossed the Channel in small boats since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, with GB News figures showing the milestone was passed on Monday after another 430 people made the journey from France. It brings this year's total to now nearly 27,000. It comes less than a week after Labour's return deal with France came into force, but people smugglers have still sent more than 1,500 migrants across in that time. The government insists, though, its new Border Security Command and tougher legislation will cut numbers, but they're warning the results will take time. And apologies there for the slight audio issue. In other news this hour, the number of people claiming universal credit has hit an 8 million high. That's the highest since the benefit was introduced in 2013. Official figures show a jump of more than 1 million in the past year, driven almost entirely by those not required to work, now at 3.7 million. That group includes people in full-time education, parents with very young children, pensioners and those deemed to have no prospect of work. Labour says it's inherited a broken welfare system from the Tories and is tightening rules on who can claim. Britain's unemployment rate, meanwhile, is holding at a 4-year high as job vacancies fall to their lowest since 2021. The ONS says unemployment stayed at 4.7% in the 3 months to June, while vacancies dropped by 44,000. Hospitality and retail saw the biggest payroll losses, with overall employee numbers falling in 10 of the 12 months just gone. Wage growth held at 5% meanwhile, but after inflation, that comes in at just 1.5%. Sir Keir Starmer is set to join a call with European leaders and Donald Trump ahead of the president's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. The Prime Minister is warning peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed, amid fears that Kyiv is being sidelined from talks. Donald Trump has confirmed Friday's summit will go ahead without Volodymyr Zelensky and suggested that Ukraine may need to give up territory, describing Russian-occupied land as oceanfront property. Downing Street has said the UK will back Mr Trump's efforts for peace, but warn, quote, never trust President Putin as far as you can throw him. I'm sure you can tell by now, but temperatures are set to hit 34 degrees today as England is bracing for now its 4th heatwave of the summer so far. Amber heat health warnings are in place across London, the South East, East and West Midlands and the east of England, with the rest of the country on yellow alert. Officials are warning the extreme heat could put pressure on health services and increase the risk of deaths, especially among older people with those with medical conditions. It comes as hot air from Europe, where parts of France have topped 40 degrees, is set to linger all week, keeping much of England in the high 20s and low 30s. Meanwhile, an air pollution alert has been issued for London as those temperatures are climbing today. City Hall says strong sunshine and the hot weather will trigger high ozone levels, with airflow from mainland Europe making conditions much worse. The warning, displayed on bus stop boards, tube signs and sent to some schools, urges Londoners to avoid idling engines and not burn wood or garden waste. And more than 40,000 future builders, electricians, carpenters and plumbers will be trained at new state-of-the-art technical excellence colleges across England. The government says the specialist centres, one in every region, will provide the homegrown workforce needed to deliver new homes, schools and hospitals. Ministers say it's about reducing reliance on overseas labour and backing British workers with well-paid and high-skilled jobs. Those are the headlines for now. I'll be back fully mic'd up in half an hour.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
But just before we get back to Tom and Emily, here's a look at the markets for you. The pound will buy you $1.3465 and €1.1594. The price of gold, £2,487 and 93 pence per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,159 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past midday. Now today, new data released by the Department for Work and Pensions shows that in July, there were almost 1.3 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit.
Yes, and this all comes as Britain's small boat crisis has hit yet another new milestone, with over 50,000 migrants crossing the Channel now since Labour took office.
Well, the number reached after 430 migrants made the journey yesterday. But the Prime Minister says he is confident his government will, at some point, reduce those small boat numbers.
Well, GBNews Home and Security Editor Mark White is with us now. Now, Mark, let's start with those figures about universal credit. 1.3 million foreign nationals. I also read that unemployment among foreign nationals has also reached the record high.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of universal credit, it has increased 40% over the last few years. which is clearly alarming in itself. But when you also look at the foreign national population in this country, it's about 6 million. The 21% of those foreign nationals are claiming universal credit. If then you look at the UK population, it's about 6.6 million who are claiming universal credit, which translates to about 10%. So you're twice as likely to be claiming universal credit if you are a foreign national, a migrant in this country for whatever reason. So that is just going to add to the sense that many people have across the country that this whole system is unfair and stacked against those UK citizens and in favour of migrants. And it comes at a time, as you mentioned in your introduction there, where we reached this grim milestone, the shocking figure of 50,000 small boat migrants who've crossed the English Channel since Labour came to power. Now, that's 50,000 in just 13 months. They've not been in office that long. And just today, again, another 250 are crossing as we speak, at least 250.
Are you sensing a definite pickup now in the numbers? Obviously, the weather is very nice at the moment. That usually, ordinarily, brings higher numbers across. But given that the government has just signed this deal with France, that they say is now operational, that they show us is now leading to detention of people who arrive, you'd expect that that might have an effect. Are we seeing any effect at all?
No, completely the opposite. The numbers are going up. Now, part of that, without a doubt, is the fact that we are in the flat calm season, although we've had a bit of wind in the channel, but that is not stopping them. The people smugglers are still pushing them out. And yesterday, we're waiting for the official figures, but our GBNews analysis puts the figures roughly about 450 yesterday. And today, again, 250, 300 in the channel, could be more by the end of today. So every day that the weather allows, we're getting a good few hundred, even more than that, crossing. It doesn't take long to tick up.
Now, migrant accommodation has, of course, been an area of interest for a lot of people recently, particularly the hotels and also accommodation dispersed around the country, private accommodation. Kemi Badenoch has an idea, doesn't she?
Yeah, she would like to see effectively sort of migrant camps set up, and I think she's on to something here in the sense that you know that migrant hotels are just not popular around the country for very obvious reasons. The thought of 200 or 300 young men hanging around there aimlessly, criminality that's linked to those migrant hotels as well. You can see why people are very concerned about that. Now the option the government is leaning towards is getting less and less reliance on migrant hotels and dispersing migrants right into the heart of communities. Well, this is another scheme, an idea that is not at all popular amongst the population, and you can understand why, because then suddenly migrants are being brought right into the heart of your neighbourhood in houses of multiple occupation or whatever. A dozen or so migrants are there just at the end of your street. So you can see why people are not happy with that. So the idea of actually having camps, perhaps Nightingale-type buildings, so portable buildings erected in areas that are sparsely populated and keeping migrants in there is not a bad idea. I would find Kemi Badenoch's suggestion a bit more credible, but for the fact that the Conservative government already was going down a road of trying to sort of put migrants into old army camps like Wethersfield, etc. Wethersfield in Essex, they backed off actually putting the 1,500, 2,000 migrants they were going to house in there because of local protests. They're now sort of upping that, but this is a different
But also
government.
legal challenges. So, I mean, we saw with the Bibby Stockholm, there were so many legal challenges about the safety of the boat. There were legal challenges about Wethersfield, about the contamination of the soil. I mean, there were all of these things that no other country with gold plate.
All of it are nonsense. I went on the Bibby Stockholm. It was, you know, I'm not going to say it was cruise ship standards, but it was perfectly lovely in there, you know, with these rooms aside that had a bunk bed in each, so could house 2 people. They had their own shower unit in there, plenty of space to hang up their clothing.
Better than the camps in Calais.
Is one of the problems here actually something that we're normally quite proud of? We're a common law country, which means that we don't have the same legal system as Europe. In Europe, you pass a law, that's the law. In the UK, law can sort of evolve through judicial activism. And when we passed the 1999 Immigration and Asylum Act, we had judicial review after judicial review over the course of the next decade or 2, which raised the bar for the minimum standard of asylum accommodation to something that is far higher than you would expect, even in developed European countries like France or Germany.
Yeah, I mean, you just need to go and look what's happening on the northern coast of France. Thousands of migrants are happily living in tents in a jungle, with the French authorities not really moving a finger to bring them into more sheltered and suitable accommodation. And even in the sheltered and suitable accommodation in France, you'll find often it's homeless hostels that migrants have put into, and nobody really bats an eyelid over that. And then if you look around the world at what's happening to refugees, go to Jordan, go to Egypt, you'll find millions in tented cities there being looked after by the government of Jordan or Egypt, in conjunction with the NGOs and charities, who are not claiming there that this is inhumane of the government of Jordan to do what it's doing to these refugees by not finding them proper accommodation within cities in Jordan. It's just, you know, needs must, and they're housed perfectly acceptably as far as many people are concerned.
That's for a little bit of a soft touch, Mark, perhaps.
Could be argued.
Thank you very much. We are going to be hearing more from Kemi Badenoch on this very topic, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be a very good exclusive interview for you at home, but we're going to move on for now.
Yes, violence in A&E has doubled in 5 years, with workers facing threats from frustrated patients driven to anger by those long waiting times.
Well, that's not an excuse. According to the Royal College of Nursing, nurses are now punched, spat at, pinned against walls, threatened with acid and even faced with guns, with shocking figures released today revealing that one nurse is attacked every 2 hours.
How have we got to a situation where acid attacks are now something that is casually threatened in this country? Well, joining us now is the former Minister of State for Health, a nurse herself, of course, Maria Caulfield. Maria, thanks so much for joining us. This is a real and present problem. I mean, surely, yes, everyone can understand that these long waiting times make people frustrated, but as Emily says, that's never an excuse. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I think it's a combination of things. I think culture has changed. Our society expects everything instantly. You know, in the old days, you used to write a letter to someone. Now you can send a message and get an instant response. It's the same in healthcare. You know, people expect to be seen as soon as possible. You know, they try to get to see a GP quickly. But I think the crux of the matter is that in A&E, because people struggle to get to see GPs and get appointments, or long waits for operations, A&E is kind of the only port in the storm for many people, and they're often been waiting a long time. They're sometimes in a lot of pain. They're much more unwell than they would have been if they'd been seen maybe perhaps by a GP or with their hospital appointment. And so by the time they get to A&E, they're already pent up and anxious and more unwell, and often take that frustration out on staff. But there is also, I've seen it myself in local hospitals, an increase in the number of people who are turning up to A&E either because they've taken drugs or consumed a lot of alcohol. And I think that fuels a lot of the problems as well. And the staff are the ones that are caught in the middle.
Did you ever work as a nurse in A&E?
Yeah, no, I worked in a busy A&E in London. It was, you know, we had lots of road traffic accidents. You know, it was a while ago now. It was back in the 90s. And we had, you know, stabbings and that sort of thing that would come into the hospital. The police would be on patrol virtually every shift because they brought someone in who needed attention, or there was trouble outside. But very rarely did the staff in those days themselves get attacked. But
so did you ever feel threatened back in the 90s, or do you get the impression that things have got drastically worse?
I think things have got drastically worse. When I speak to paramedics and ambulance drivers, they're often under attack, and that's why the last government did pass new legislation to make it a specific offence to attack an emergency worker. I'm not sure how that's working in practice, whether people are being prosecuted and whether the penalties are strong enough. But absolutely, I know for a fact that it is an influence in people leaving their jobs because people have been attacked or seen colleagues attacked, or just the fear of going onto a shift and not knowing what's going to happen. In my job, I'm in a hospital. We don't have an A&E in my hospital, and so we don't have that kind of level of violence. But you do sense that people are more frustrated and less willing to wait than they were, say, a few years ago. But perhaps because waiting times have got longer, they're just more anxious and angry when they come to that front door. And you're already dealing with some of the issues that they've experienced trying to get into the health service, and you're the first point of contact, and they often then do take it out on the first person that they see.
Yeah, it sounds like an absolutely dire situation. Well, Maria Caulfield, thanks so much for talking it through with us. I suppose we can only hope that those wait times come down, but it could be that sort of, as Maria was saying, back in the 90s, you'd sort of have some police officers patrolling just because they're bringing people in. I mean, is there an argument for some sort of protection for our NHS workers?
It's pretty bleak, isn't it? I mean, this Rochelle McCarthy, a senior charge nurse from the East Midlands, she said she was punched square in the face by a drunk 6'2" bloke. And she says, even patients who are quite placid are becoming irate because of just how long they're having to wait. You can only imagine the behaviour of those who are already prone to violence. The receptionists as well, the doctors, not just nurses, but everyone working at the A&E.
Yeah, once every 2 hours. Really, really shocking statistics there.
It is, yeah. What do we do about it? Let us know your thoughts. GBNews.com/yoursay. Perhaps you work in the NHS or have done and have experienced being threatened yourself. Let us know.
But it is now time for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for an entire year, plus to have an extra £5,000 in your bank to play with. And if you don't pay a monthly mortgage or rent payment, we'll give you £15,000 in cash instead. Here are all the details.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Yes, good luck. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. You're going to want to stick around. We've got an exclusive interview with our political editor, Christopher Hope, and the leader of the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. And she has a new idea, doesn't she, for how to house asylum seekers coming across the English Channel. We'll reveal all next.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Cleethorpes here has a rich military history. Today, 200,000 people are going to be turning up, and all around there are the celebrations of those veterans and those current serving military personnel. Now, we're here with the guys from HMS Antrim. Let's go and have a chat to a few of them. Nigel Smith, we'll come to you first. Hi. Now, you've got this beautiful bench which has been you've done and commissioned. Tell us about HMS Antrim and that story, because I don't think it's something actually a lot of people probably know.
So HMS Antrim was in the Falklands War in 1982. We were a bunch of young lads, 17 years old, going to war. No idea what was happening, when it was happening. We're just told we're going down south and we're going to war with the Argentinians. To be honest, half of them thought we was going up north to Scotland. So you imagine it's been 17 years old, we're on a warship, join the Navy, see the world, and suddenly we're all going to war at 17-year-old. And we're all, well, half a dozen of us here at the moment.
For you, what does Armed Forces Day mean for you? You've got your bench here, you know, you're celebrating here today. Is it about a celebration of the forces? What does it mean for you today?
For me, it's literally celebrating the brotherhood of the Antrim, plus recognising what the Armed Forces do. It's under-recognised. The country doesn't really have an armed forces anymore, and they need to start thinking we need the armed forces. Back in '82, we had best part of 100 warships. You don't have that anymore. So we had the camaraderie. We knew what we were doing. It's all computerised anymore now and stuff like that, but nobody knows what we did in '82, and that was a big thing for the Antrim. We were the first ship since World War II to sink a submarine for a start. We were the first ship down there, the last ship back. And we went back down there 2 months after we had a repair damage done. You know, and it is the camaraderie of the lads and the teamwork.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 26 minutes past midday, and if you haven't noticed, it's a little bit warm outside. Have you got your ice creams yet? Well, one man has certainly been doing that. It's not just our political editor, Christopher Hope, who's been getting ice creams, but also our GB News national reporter, Jack Carson. And before we go to Christopher Hope, we thought we'd check in with Jack. So, Jack, what's the weather doing today? How glorious is it for you out there at the seaside?
Well, I think you guys are probably the only journalists at the moment at the channel that haven't got an ice cream on their hands, because me and Chris Hope are really making the most of this beautiful weather. Here in Weston-super-Mare, where we are, it's like 30 degrees highs of today, so it's really scorching. I've been here since about 9 o'clock, and you've just felt as the morning has gone on, the temperature tick higher and higher up. But now we're getting to midday with the sun really high in the air. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. People behind me, you might be able to see, packing the beaches. Some people have been grabbing their spots since I've been here at around 9 a.m. to make sure that they can get their spot. The tide within this morning, I've not yet been for a paddle, but it is getting even more tempting. And now in the air, all you're getting is this smell of just fish and chips, and that's just making me even more hungry. I probably went the wrong way round, having the ice cream first and then maybe the fish and chips second. But I don't know, on a day like today, is it bad to try and have another Mr. Whippy later on? I don't think it necessarily is. People we've been speaking to here today have just told us how much they love the British seaside, how much they love Weston-super-Mare, and it's days like today where this kind of place thrives. You can see out from behind me how busy it is. You know, the kind of people that just, as soon as it gets sunny, this is the place to be. And of course, I've come from Birmingham today, where I live, and this is really the spot for Brummies. It's the closest beach for Birmingham, just under 2 hours. So plenty of other Brummie accents have been heard around Weston-super-Mare as people come here and enjoy the sunshine. Families, older people as well, dogs, the whole lot. This really is here in Weston-super-Mare an example of how good the great British seaside is. People coming and to enjoy the sunshine. Now, the reason we're getting all this beautiful hot hot weather is because of this hot and humid air that's coming from southern Europe. That's going north, which means we're getting this beautiful bit of high pressure, in the words of the Met Office, that it's making this beautiful sunshine. Now, of course, here where we are in Weston-super-Mare, it's a yellow weather warning. Elsewhere in parts of London, where you're in the southeast, parts of the Midlands, as well as the East Midlands as well, they've got that amber heat alert. That is to warn people of temperatures getting to the likes of 34 degrees. That's what they reckon the highest temperature today could be. That's not as high as what it was upwards of nearly 36 degrees, but still, I mean, you can't really beat it when we're getting the kind of temperatures that Spain are at this time of the year. The Great British Seaside, why would you want to go anywhere else?
Why would you,
Fantastic. No, absolutely. I think I've done many a summer down in Salcombe or on the North Norfolk coast as well. I mean, some glorious places around in this country. Jack Carson, thanks indeed for showing us the delights of Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah, have you ever been to Weston-super-Mare?
I haven't, actually.
I have. When I was at university in Bristol, went down there. Lovely beach.
Yeah.
Get some sun, catch some rays, why not?
Very nice. Well, I suppose it's very handy for Bristol.
Yeah, and also when I worked a bit in Somerset as well and went down there. So, yeah, it's a lovely place.
I used to do a lot of summers in Salcombe, down in Devon. Really, really lovely. So it's almost like a little microclimate down there. Sort of, you
takes a long time to get to from here.
It can do, especially when you're going past Stonehenge.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
And just all the cars stop.
Now, you'll know. What's happened to that road that they were going to be building, or that tunnel?
Now,
past the Stonehenge.
It's been a hokey-cokey tunnel, hasn't it? Because
exactly.
It was approved and then it was not approved. I genuinely can't remember
to put you on the spot.
At what status the Stonehenge tunnel. I think it's broadly quite a good idea. I know there are lots of people who disagree with me on this and think that it's going to damage the architectural site or whatever, but I think a tunnel so that the cars don't stop, actually it will sort of preserve the site better.
Remember when those oiks from Just Stop Oil, I think it was, turned up at Stonehenge and just decided to paint it orange?
Yeah, they threw powder all over it.
Well, they said, actually, it'll just wash off, so there's no problem.
Well,
vandals.
This is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. We will bring you that interview with our political editor and the leader of His Majesty's most loyal opposition after the latest headlines.
Very good afternoon from the newsroom. The top stories just after 12:30. Over 50,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel since Sir Keir Starmer took office. Despite a partial deal with France, numbers continue to rise. The Home Office promises stronger measures, but the Prime Minister has admitted it will take time to reduce crossings. Britain's benefits bill is rising as 8 million people now claim universal credit. Nearly half are in the no-work group due to sickness, caring duties or being over pension age. The number of claimants has increased by 1.1 million since last year, with 58,000 new claims each week. Meanwhile, UK unemployment holds at 4.7%. That is the highest in 4 years. The latest figures show job vacancies have dropped by 44,000, while wage growth remains at 5%. Sir Keir Starmer will join European leaders on a call with Donald Trump ahead of the president's meeting with Vladimir Putin on Friday. The UK warns peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian president rejected the idea that some land swapping could end the war. And Britain is set for highs of 34 degrees in the latest summer heatwave, triggering heat health warnings. Experts say the elderly and those with health conditions are at risk, with potential for more wildfires too. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you for the news at 1.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We had some thundery showers overnight. Any remaining ones should ease away this morning. Cloud widely clearing to blue skies, but it is set to be another day of sunshine and hot temperatures. And it's all thanks to high pressure towards mainland Europe, dragging in a southerly flow of air. And we're really picking up a lot of that heat from mainland Europe. And at times we could still see some remnants of those showers across northern parts of England, Northern Ireland. But as I say, they should ease away into the afternoon. And a thicker area of cloud towards the northwest of Scotland. At times across the Northern Isles, this may produce some light outbreaks of rain, but for the large majority of the country, plenty of sunshine and another hot day. Widely across the Midlands, parts of South and South East England, we are going to be pushing into the mid-30s with high UV levels, so do take care in the sunshine. Now, those blue skies may just start to be replaced by something a little cloudier across some southern and southwestern coasts. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine to finish off the day. Still a risk of showers just starting to push into Northern Ireland and similar across parts of Scotland. But any showers should be mostly isolated, and still that thicker area of cloud lingering across the far northwest, creating a hazy end to the day. And through the course of the evening, we'll see more and more of that cloud push in from the English Channel, moving into parts of south and southwest England and perhaps parts of Wales. And any inland areas could start to see some low cloud develop, possibly some fog in prone spaces. But otherwise, it should remain mostly dry, and it is set to be another mild and muggy night. Many towns and cities, particularly once again across central and southern parts, not dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So it's going to be another mild and possibly quite uncomfortable night for some. Now, any cloud lingering through across Wales, parts of southwest England, should eventually break up through the course of the day, allowing those blue skies to redevelop. Still a risk of showers across the far north of Scotland and potentially some across the far southeast. But once again, another dry, sunny day and feeling warm in the sunshine.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. An accident on the M4 westbound between Mega and Coldra is causing significant congestion. In Kent, the A21 southbound faces 15-minute delays expected to clear shortly after 1 this afternoon. Nottinghamshire's A1 northbound is shut between the A52 and A46 due to a collision, likely to improve by 6 this evening. In the Sandwell district, the M6 southbound is notably congested from junction 11 to 8, with 30-minute delays. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted between Newcastle and Darlington, while Great Western Railway has no trains running between Maidenhead and Marlow. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 36 minutes past midday. Now, the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, has suggested that hotels are perhaps not the best place to put new asylum seekers. Of course, lots of European countries don't have quite as plush a setup for those asylum seekers that we do in the United Kingdom. And yet, when successive governments have tried to sort of find other solutions, they have been stymied by local campaigns and by the courts.
Well, yeah, and you look to France and you look at the conditions that migrants have been living in for sometimes months on end, like that warehouse with all the South Sudanese men in it that Patrick went to visit and reported from. The conditions of that, now, I'm not saying we should be treating migrants in the same way as the French necessarily, but it just puts it in perspective, doesn't it, when you have charities telling us how inhumane hotels are or how inhumane some other form of accommodation is, like the Bibby Stockholm, like the Wethersfield.
And of course, it's not the only pull factor, but it's silly to think that it is not a pull factor. But shall we catch up now with our political editor, Christopher Hope, who, of course, has been speaking to the leader of His Majesty's most loyal opposition and, indeed, the Conservative Party, Kemi Badenoch. Chris, what did you find?
Yeah, Tom and Emily, welcome to the glorious Isle of Wight here. We've been speaking to Kemi Badenoch. She's been visiting here with Mel Stride, talking to locals about tourism, about small businesses, about the pressures they're all feeling at the moment. We asked her about migrants, and she was, of course, yesterday in Epping. She spoke and was very affected, clearly, by meeting local women there who are concerned about being safe. She told us that some women are not jogging in the local parks. They fear they might get attacked by these young men staying in the local migrants' hotel there. So big concerns about migration and also about shoplifting. It turns out that she would step in if she saw some shoplifting taking place, if it was safe to do so. That's a talking point, I think, is this increasing idea of lawless Britain takes hold. We talked about post offices. The government is now looking at maybe cutting the 11,500 post offices across the country, a big worry for communities and GB News viewers. Later this year, she's against those plans, and also I asked her about her future at the next general election. But here's the full interview for you. Kemi Badenoch, thank you for joining us today on GB News in a glorious sunny Isle of Wight. It's great to see you. I want to take you to Epping. You were in Epping yesterday outside, or very near the Bell Hotel. You met people affected by that migrant hotel to find out what they were thinking. You talked about the issue of camps, moving migrants out of hotels into camps. Where would the camps be?
So I think the first thing that I want to say is that I went there because there was so much misinformation flowing around about what was going on, and I wanted to hear from the people of Epping directly, especially the mums, especially the parents. And I had mums and dads sitting there telling me what they've been going through, and it was worse than I thought. Lots of low-level intimidation, people no longer jogging in the park because there are men lurking behind bushes, girls saying that there are people watching them as they go to school and come back. You know, when we had migrant hotels, you had men and women and children in there. What we're seeing is all male hotels. That is not what asylum seeking looks like. When we had the Ukrainian refugees coming in, it was mostly women and children. I think there's a problem when we're seeing all men turning up on these boats. And I don't think just plonking them in the heart of a community is the right thing.
Often in secret.
Yes.
That's part of the problem.
Exactly. So that Bell Hotel should close. We closed it, Labour reopened it, and it's now, and when we closed it, it had women and children in there.
Where would these camps be? We're on an island, the Isle of Wight could be a place.
We need to make sure that people aren't getting a pull factor here because they know they'll get free board, free, NHS, free, perks, luxuries even. Many of those hotels are actually quite expensive, and the local community loses the amenity. People I'm an Essex MP, and I've had constituents saying, well, we want to have our wedding, and the hotel's not available. So we need to find a solution. The worst possible thing is if we start moving them into private landlord owned accommodation, HMOs. That's the worst possible thing. We need to have something specially set up, whether it's camps or detention centres, and there's no point saying it's going to be expensive. It's expensive having them in the hotels, probably even more expensive.
To make life less comfortable.
Less comfortable, but also, more importantly, keep our community safe.
Yep.
Nobody should have to change where they jog or where they work because the government has plonked an asylum centre there. That's not right.
Of course, we're speaking on the day that 50,000 people have arrived here since last year's general election. You want them to be sent straight back to where they came from, mainly in the European Union, but that means pulling out of the European Convention on Human Rights. Would you commit to that now? Live on GB News.
Well, Chris, you know what our policy is, and that is that we're going to announce a conference, not just whether we're leaving or not, but how we do it. Simply saying we're going to leave with no plan, that's a big mess. But what's really interesting is that these numbers have just been going up and up. Labour scrapped the deterrence. There was a Rwanda plan, which we put to the election. Fine, we lost because it got lost in a lot of things, but Labour should never have scrapped it. The US is now using what we paid for in Rwanda to deport their migrants. That's terrible.
It's moving to crime now. Is Britain lawless? I mean, do you feel safe walking the streets of this country?
I do feel safe, but just because I feel safe doesn't mean that everybody else feels safe.
You've got a team around you, make you feel safe.
Well, indeed. But and one of the things that's gone wrong in politics is that a lot of people make laws that work for them and middle-class wealthy lives rather than the people out there. I've always stood up for the people who didn't have a voice. When I was being pilloried for complaining that rapists were being put in women's prisons, I've never been in a prison. I have never committed, a crime that would put me in prison. But I know that a lot of those people are vulnerable. I was speaking for them. And the job of politicians is not to make life comfortable for people like us. It's to speak up for those people who don't have a voice.
Walk in their shoes, essentially.
Exactly.
Should people step in to stop crimes? If you saw a shoplifter, would you step in and stop it happening?
Yes, after a very quick risk assessment, probably yes. That's the sort of person I am. And, I never liked the phrase have a go hero because I think it's what people used to do as normal back in the day. But then we had the encroachment of bureaucracy. A lot of people are worried that if they step in, they'll get arrested. It should be the other way around. It can't just be the police who do all of the arresting. We used to have, we still do have a concept of a citizen's arrest, but a lot of people don't feel that the state will back them. They
Should the government be clear it will back them in that?
Yes, absolutely. That is what I stand for. We will never ever have enough police officers to do every single thing that needs policing. Yeah. We need the community as well to do that.
Are shoplifters scumbags?
I would not use that term, but if other people want to, that's
why not? Why is that word?
Well, quite a lot of them will be scumbags. Quite a lot of them will be scumbags. It's not a phrase that's in my lexicon. What really worries me is that the shopkeeper is the one getting the hassle. He has freedom of speech. Whether people like the word or not is irrelevant. That's not where the police should be focusing their efforts. They should be focusing their efforts on catching the thieves and the criminals.
They should display details, the faces of people who are suspected of being shoplifters.
Well, if they have caught people, I think that there might be a risk that they might do that for people who haven't done anything wrong. But the bottom line is that they are the victims in this, and we need to give them our backing and support them as much as we can, not create more hassle. It's incredibly hard running a business in the country today. You've got NI, employers NI, you know, all sorts of problems on businesses. We back businesses.
Some parties are blaming migrants for crimes. Is that fair? Are some migrants from some countries more likely to commit crime?
I think there are statistics that show that certain people from certain countries are committing more crime. It doesn't mean that all migrants are committing crimes, but if nothing is done to tackle that, then what we'll end up seeing is a backlash, not even just against, you know, people coming on boats, but everyone who has an immigrant background. That's the worst case scenario, and the government needs to step in before we get to that place. But we should be honest about who is committing which crimes. What we know is that different groups often have overrepresentation for different crimes. Let's know about it so that we can do the right work for crime prevention, have a conversation that's honest. This is, as I always say, this is not a racist country, but we have managed to keep that by being very honest about what's going on, having transparency. If people don't know what's going on, they will start to believe conspiracy theory and misinformation, and then it'll be too late.
The Conservatives have fought the last 4 or 5 elections on a commitment to keeping the number of post offices in the country at 11,500. But the Labour government is now looking at that level, and it may be changed and maybe reduced. Will your party and you fight any plans to reduce that number of post offices from 11,500?
Chris, you'll remember I was the business secretary up until last year, and I kept that guarantee. I kept those post offices opened. I also got the criminal convictions for the sub-postmasters overturned. I've done a lot to support post offices in my constituency. It's a rural constituency. Rural areas in particular will feel the loss of post offices. The government should be looking at how it can fix the post office so it can provide a service, not just keep degrading it.
But keep that number.
I think that number is right. The population is increasing.
100%. Finally, just final leadership. I've got to ask you about leadership. You've done hundreds.
Yes, you always do.
I've got to. It's my job. You've done hundreds of interviews, over 100 visits since you became leader, but you're not budging your party's ranking in the polls. Why is that? Is it the party's fault? Is it your personal fault?
It's because it takes time. The last oppositions were 14 years, 13 years, 18 years. It's going to take some time. We've just been kicked out of office. People were angry with us. Now they're angry with Labour. Many people are looking to other parties. That's why they're doing well in the polls. My job is to show that the Conservative Party has changed. It's under new leadership. Immigration was one of the areas that we got wrong. We tried, didn't work. Now we have new, tougher policies, deporting all foreign criminals, disapplying the Human Rights Act, you know, a deterrence, Rwanda plan, making sure that we actually control our borders. We have been too weak, I'm afraid. Labour is a lot weaker, and I want people to see that the Conservative Party's changed, and that's why I'm getting out there.
Now, at the weekend, Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, who's the treasurer of the 1922 Committee of Tory MPs, he said to us that it depends on how you perform over the next few months on whether you'll fight the next general election. What would you say to Geoffrey Clifton Brown?
That I will be fighting the next election. The Conservative Party has gone through multiple changes in leader, and where it ended up was our worst historic defeat. What I'm doing is making sure that people understand what it means to vote Conservative again. It means low immigration, it means backing business, it means supporting families and having equality under the law, not two-tier policing or whatever. That's what we're about, and I need to make sure that people can see that there is only one party that's going to live within our means and not bankrupt our country. That's the Conservative Party.
Kevin Baynock, thank you for joining us in a glorious sunny Seaside at the Isle of Wight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. There we have Kevin Badenoch talking to us earlier in a glorious sunny Isle of Wight there. And I think, she's going to last the course. We heard from Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, of course, the treasurer of the 1922 committee. He knows that letters can start going in of no confidence in the Tory leader from November, 1 year after she was elected by members to be the party leader. He says she's got some months to prove herself, and he can't say she'll fight the election. Well, Kevin Badenoch has hit back at that. She will fight the election, she says. She's the person to take it to the country. She hints there heavily at plans for the European Convention on Human Rights. We'll see apparently a plan to pull out of that if that's the decision they come to, and it seems that way, reading the mood music. So we'll see a detailed plan in October on withdrawal from the ECHR. That'll be a big moment, I think, in all politics this autumn. The policy of ECHR withdrawal, I think, is something which we'll be talking about a lot.
That will be a big moment. So she says they'll reveal whether they will or will not leave the ECHR, and crucially how they'll do it. We'll have to hold her to that. I'm sure you will, Christopher, if you're at the conference, which I imagine you will be.
But of course there is so much more to cover here, because Kemi Badenoch is trying to establish herself as a national figure, as an alternative government, talking about these serious measures, the serious way to do things, working through the detail of a policy rather than just making an announcement. She says, you can't just govern by announcement, you have to do the hard yards and the work. But you're right, Chris, I mean, it's not cutting through. Is she hoping that conference will be a turning point for that? I mean, what is the plan for the Conservatives if they continue to say things and the country continues to not listen?
That is a problem. I think the country has got Kevin Badenoch on mute at the moment, and how does she turn up the volume? How does she make people turn the TV up when she's speaking? Well, she's talking to us in the Isle of Wight. She's doing a lot of interviews, 100 visits in the past 10 months, over 200, I think, interviews. She's talking and talking, but how does she get the chance to be listened to? I think part of the problem she's got is that she, of course, was part of a government which is in power for 14 years, and people just aren't ready to listen to what they've got to say. Every time that Kevin Badenoch will attack the government, correctly so, on migration policy and small boats policy, for example, the Labour government, of course, goes back to the record of the last government and says, well, you had your chance and you failed to. So I think she's just plugging on. I think the point of Robert Jenrick do any better. He's very good at opposition politics, very good at making videos, making cut through online, but really, would he budge the dial any more than Kevin Badenoch is? And into that void, of course. So she's saying things which are quite interesting. She would step in if she saw some shoplifting, for example. She will oppose those plans that could see thousands of post offices potentially closed if it goes through from this government. She's trying to find areas to have a go at the government on, but right now she's struggling to be listened to, and we're seeing that in the polls.
Fair to say a slightly more tentative approach to crime as well. You asked her whether she feels safe. She said she does feel safe on the streets of Britain, but accepts that some people do not. She doesn't seem to be going down the whole lawless Britain route, as Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage are.
No. No, she didn't, and very clearly said that's not the case. I mean, I think it's more of a low-level issue of lawlessness. Mothers, the women of Epping, talking about how they are not going running in the local park now because they fear about these young men being housed in that local hotel. There's the unknown nature of who's being put in hotels, the secrecy by the Home Office about when they open a new hotel. That is driving, I think, a lot of the concern from local people. Were the government more open, they might find people being more open, although upset about it. I do think the government's facing a crossroads on the issue of migration, because they are going to disperse them into HMOs, into houses of multiple occupation. The Tories and Reform UK are saying, why not build campsites, Nightingale buildings, temporary structures elsewhere in the country and put them there. That is a choice that's being made, I think. But yeah, Kevin Badenoch saying she feels safe, but of course she's recognising there are concerns about crime across the country.
Well, perhaps something else she could commit to is better broadband across the country, and indeed a wider rollout of 5G. You have been cutting up a little bit, Chris, but we have been able to get the vast majority of what you've had to say. Thanks for joining us live from the Isle of Wight.
That's the Isle of Wight, yes. Well, some of you have been getting in touch. much about that already. Benny says the Tories haven't changed. Their stance on leaving the ECHR is exactly the same as when they were in power. All Kemi Badenoch is doing is repeating the same blurb, commit to leaving the ECHR, and maybe your credibility will get better. Well, you're going to have to wait till the Tory conference, aren't you?
Yeah,
apparently, anyway.
Start of October, we might see a significant shift there. John says we need to ignore the ECHR. Not many of these incomers are European.
And Sheila says it doesn't matter whether Starmer liked the Rwanda plan or not. What kind of leader removes a deterrent before having something in place to replace it? It is akin to me moving into a new house, deciding that I don't like the front door and removing it before getting its replacement. That's the sort of thing I'd do.
Well, do keep your comments coming in. gbnews.com/you'll say is the way, as ever, to get involved. But there is so much more to come in the next hour, including this particular question. Should the Notting Hill Carnival in London be ticketed to avoid another Hillsborough-style disaster? The numbers have risen, but also the crime associated with the festival have risen too. There's a new report out from Susan Hall, and the London Conservatives will have a look at that after your latest weather forecast.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We had some thundery showers overnight. Any remaining ones should ease away this morning. Cloud widely clearing to blue skies, but it is set to be another day of sunshine and hot temperatures. And it's all thanks to high pressure towards mainland Europe, dragging in a southerly flow of air. And we're really picking up a lot of that heat from mainland Europe. And at times we could still see some remnants of those showers across northern parts of England, Northern Ireland. But as I say, they should ease away into the afternoon. And a thicker area of cloud towards the northwest of Scotland. At times across the Northern Isles, this may produce some light outbreaks of rain, but for the large majority of the country, plenty of sunshine and another hot day. Widely across the Midlands, parts of South and South East England, we are going to be pushing into the mid-30s with high UV levels, so do take care in the sunshine. Now, those blue skies may just start to be replaced by something a little cloudier across some southern and southwestern coasts. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine to finish off the day. Still a risk of showers just starting to push into Northern Ireland and similar across parts of Scotland. But any showers should be mostly isolated, and still that thicker area of cloud lingering across the far northwest, creating a hazy end to the day. And through the course of the evening, we'll see more and more of that cloud push in from the English Channel, moving into parts of south and southwest England and perhaps parts of Wales. And any inland areas could start to see some low cloud develop, possibly some fog in prone spaces. But otherwise, it should remain mostly dry, and it is set to be another mild and muggy night. Many towns and cities, particularly once again across central and southern parts, not dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So it's going to be another mild and possibly quite uncomfortable night for some. Now, any cloud lingering through across Wales, parts of southwest England, should eventually break up through the course of the day, allowing those blue skies to redevelop. Still a risk of showers across the far north of Scotland and potentially some across the far southeast. But once again, another dry, sunny day and feeling warm in the sunshine.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
What I want to talk about now, though, is a Christian street preacher who was shut down by London's Transport Police outside King's Cross Station. Now, she has exclusively spoken to GB News, claiming that Christians are being heavily persecuted in this country and that police are not doing this to other religious speakers. Shocking, indeed, if true. Well, are we living in this two-tier approach by the authorities that we hear so much about? I'm delighted to say I am joined now in the studio by that street preacher herself, Monique Bailey.
It is true that the police did tell us that you need a permit, so that is truth. But it's the way it was handled. She was very... It was just astonishing. I just couldn't believe how a police person could come against us like that. Like, we were abiding by the rules. And by the way, I didn't actually put the full clip on just to, in a way, save her, because it actually got worse.
OK.
Yeah.
Monique, can I just quickly ask, if you take a step back and look at Britain, you know, as a Christian, you see the demonstrations that we've had since October 7th, some would say pro-Hamas, anti-Israel demonstrations, pretty overt displays of anti-Semitism. We've had the Lucy Connolly case. We've had, I would argue, clear evidence of a two-tier approach within our judicial legal system. Do you think that we are actually now entering a society where some groups, some religions are treated much more harshly than others? Do you think, for example, if you had been a Muslim preacher in King's Cross Station, the reaction would have been the same?
Yeah, of course, every religion gets something thrown at them, but I do think, of course, Christianity is the most persecuted, and I do think we will see it more.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1 o'clock on Tuesday, the 12th of August. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Tom Harwood.
Well, the number of non-UK nationals out of work in this country has hit a record high, with nearly 1.3 million foreign nationals now claiming universal credit.
Well, with universal credit rising by 40% over 3 years, non-EU European UK nationals, I should say, are twice as likely to claim universal credit than UK nationals.
Elsewhere, shocking new figures reveal one A&E worker is attacked every 2 hours. Poor worker. As violence in hospitals reaches record levels.
UK jobs hit a 2-year low after Rachel Reeves' tax raid. Vacancies tumble and payroll numbers dip as businesses tighten hiring across almost every single sector.
And should the Notting Hill Carnival be ticketed in order to avoid another Hillsborough-style disaster? That's the comments of the former Conservative mayoral candidate Susan Hall. We'll debate.
And it's heartbreak for the Beckhams. Yes, David and Victoria left stunned after their eldest son, Brooklyn, renewed his vows with Nicola Peltz in a secret ceremony without a single family member invited, but her family were.
Emily, if you were to renew your vows with Patrick, do you think you'd invite your family?
I feel like you only renew your vows when something's gone a bit wrong. Don't you think? When you kind of have to prove that you love them still. No offence if you've done it for lovely reasons. I'm sure there are lots of people who do just for the fun of it, and because they want to show even more love towards their partner. But I imagine it might be when there's been a bit of a hiccup and you want to prove that you still love each other.
You've had a stumbling block, and therefore there's an impetus. There's a reason why it has to happen.
But yes, I would invite my family. Yeah, I think it's a bit sort of Harry and Meghan, isn't it? This whole Beckham's thing. You know, young British man meets American actress, falls in love, and then abandons his family.
It's very Wallace Simpson.
Yeah.
It's a tale as old as time.
Old as time.
I don't know what exactly.
What's wrong with men? Why can't they, keep their family on board at the same time as falling in love?
What's wrong with the sort of British institutions that can be so easily broken by one American woman? It's happened time and time again.
We'll get in trouble for that. We'll be called sexist. It's probably Brooklyn Beckham's weakness.
Well, do you know what? I wish I could bring myself to care a lot about whatever the Beckhams get up to, but
it's the psychology of it, Tom.
Cards on the table. I really couldn't care less.
Yeah,
There's no
I know
public
it's not
money
highbrow enough for you.
involved. There's no. I mean,
it's not about politics.
Why should I care?
Because it's just interesting to see how family dynamics play out, Tom. Because it's something that could happen and probably is happening in people's homes up and down the country.
Oh, it's an allegory.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
you know, you might have a son and then the son meets a woman and then you never hear from said son again.
Right, so we should sort of practice living our lives through the sort of vicarious nature of the
Why
Beckhams.
do you think people are interested?
Yeah,
Why do you think it's front page news?
I suppose that's why people sort of watch fiction, isn't
Yeah,
it? Sort of to help.
We just need to
practice your own life.
reprogram you a bit.
There we go. No, we can sort of understand why this is popular.
I'm sure a lot of people at home will agree with you, though, Tom, that it's absolute nonsense. But it's just a bit of fun, a bit of gossip, and I think it does reflect on dynamics in other people's lives.
Well, that and so much more
That's
to
my
come.
pitch, anyway.
After your very latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you. Just after 1 o'clock. Well, the top story this lunchtime, more than 50,000 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. That milestone, passed on Monday, is still climbing. So far today, another 220 people have made the journey from France. And we're just hearing that 3 small boats are still on the water. It brings this year's total to well over 27,000 people. It also comes less than a week after Labour's return deal with France came into force, but people smugglers have still sent more than 1,500 migrants across the Channel in that time. The government insists, though, its Border Security Command and tougher legislation will cut numbers, but they're warning the results will take time. Breaking today, the number of people claiming universal credit has hit a record 8 million people. That is the highest since the benefit was introduced in 2013. Official figures show a jump of more than 1 million in the past year, driven almost entirely by those not required to work. That stands now at 3.7 million. The group includes people in full-time education, parents with very young children, pensioners and those deemed to have no prospect of work. Labour, though, says it inherited a broken welfare system from the Conservatives and is promising to tighten rules on who can claim. Meanwhile, Britain's unemployment rate is holding steady at 4-year high as job vacancies fall to their lowest since 2021. The Office for National Statistics says unemployment stayed at 4.7% in the 3 months to June, while vacancies dropped now to 718,000. Hospitality and retail saw the biggest payroll losses, with overall employee numbers falling in 10 of the past 12 months. Wage growth, meanwhile, held at 5%, but after inflation, that's just 1.5% as the cost of living continues to rise. Sir Keir Starmer is set to join a call with European leaders and Donald Trump ahead of the president's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska on Friday. The Prime Minister is warning peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed, amid fears that Kyiv is being sidelined from those talks. Donald Trump has confirmed the summit will go ahead without Volodymyr Zelensky and suggested Ukraine may need to give up territory, describing Russian-occupied land as oceanfront property. Downing Street says the UK will back Mr Trump's efforts for peace, but they're warning, quote, never trust President Putin as far as you can throw him. Temperatures could hit 34 degrees today as England is bracing for its 4th heatwave of the summer so far. Amber heat health warnings are in place across London, the South East, East and West Midlands and the east of England, with the rest of the country on yellow alert. Officials are warning the extreme heat could put pressure on health services and increase the risk of deaths, especially among older people and those with medical conditions. Hot air from Europe, where parts of France have topped 40 degrees, is set to linger all week, keeping much of England in the high 20s and the low 30s. Well, that comes as an air pollution alert has been issued for London as those temperatures are climbing today. City Hall says strong sunshine will trigger high ozone levels, with airflow from mainland Europe making conditions worse. The warning, displayed on bus stop boards, tube signs and even sent to schools, is urging Londoners to avoid idling engines and not to burn wood or garden waste. And more than 40,000 future builders, electricians, carpenters and plumbers will be trained at new state-of-the-art technical excellence colleges across England. The government says the specialist centres, one of them in every region, will provide the homegrown workforce needed to deliver new homes, schools and hospitals. Ministers say it's about reducing reliance on overseas labour and backing British workers with well-paid and highly skilled jobs. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in around 30 minutes' time. Now, though, let's get back to Tom and Emily.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
But not before I've given you an update on the markets this hour. The pound will buy you $1.3465 and €1.1594. The price of gold is £2,487.93 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is at 9,159 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 1. Now, Department for the Work and Pensions, I'll start that again. The Department for Work and Pensions has released data showing that in July 2025 there were almost 1.3 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit.
Yes, and these data comes on a day where Britain's small boat crisis has hit a new milestone. Now over 50,000 migrants have crossed the Channel just since Labour took office last July.
Well, this number was reached after 430 migrants made the journey yesterday, but the Prime Minister says he's confident his government will reduce small boat numbers. We just don't yet have a timescale on that one. Shall we speak to Mark White, our Home and Security Editor? Mark, important to say that these are two different stories. One is to do with legal migrants claiming benefits and the other to do with illegal migrants coming in large numbers. Shall we start with the legal question? Why are quite so many claiming benefits?
Well, this is the question that I don't really have the answer to, but it is significant because if we look at the foreign national population in this country, it's around 6 million. That's 9% of the population. 1.3 million, we're told, just under, are claiming universal credit, which is about 21% of that foreign national population in the UK. Now, that compares to 6.6 million claiming universal credit who are UK nationals, so about 10% of the population. So 21% of the foreign national population compared to 10% of the UK population gives you a rough extrapolation of double the number of universal credit claimants who are foreign nationals. And I don't know why, but it will just go to cement the sort of perception that many people have that it's just not fair.
To try and steelman these numbers, I suppose, number one, the migrant population will be younger than the British population. Once you're over a certain age, you don't get universal credit, you'll have your state pension instead, so that might account for some of the difference. I suppose another element of the difference will be we don't know how many of these people are actually in work, because there are a lot of people on very low pay who are in work and claim universal credit.
So 500,000 odd are receiving in-work universal credit, but 760,000 are out of work claimants. So more are out of work than are in work. So more are out of work receiving universal credit than those who are getting it as a sort of top-up to their low wages. But either way, we're told that immigration is supposed to be this massive boost to the economy, that all these people coming over are going to be net contributors and how fantastic it is, and that our economy would be in tatters were it not for all these people. But then we look at this and think, how big is the bill for these welfare payments?
And one of the concerns is it's going in the wrong direction because 370,000 people have been added to that universal credit bill over just the past 3 years. It's a 40% increase. So clearly it's something that needs to be looked at and tackled and addressed and hopefully reversed, because it all adds to the amount of money the Exchequer has to pay out to these individuals who are not necessarily bringing money in to the same extent they're taking it out.
Yeah, a lot of these people, a majority of these people actually, just about, were people who were granted settled status under the EU settlement scheme, and another 200,000 had indefinite leave to remain in the UK, and then another big chunk refugee or humanitarian status. So it's all sorts of different people.
The EU resettlement scheme is a one-off event that did grant a lot of people access to benefits as if they were citizens.
Credit, though. It's crazy.
I mean, I suppose one of the issues here is that for a long time the government have brought in people to, quote-unquote, do jobs that British people don't want to do, to do the jobs that are hard yards and low pay. And the idea is this is a benefit to the economy.
Yeah.
But if all of these people, or a significant proportion of these people, are topping up their wages with taxpayers' money through universal credit, well, suddenly it doesn't quite seem like a free magic money tree for low-skilled, for low-wage employment that it might have initially looked like without that universal credit.
Yeah, it seems to be completely counterintuitive, there's no doubt.
Subsidising employers, great. Excellent stuff. Anyway, shall we move on? Because, yes, 50,000, a new milestone in the small boats crisis. I mean, it's quite extraordinary, Mark. You've been reporting on this for so long. You're continuing to see the numbers come across. We're talking about all sorts of different types of accommodation. The cost is spiralling. I mean, where are we at the moment?
Well, we're at 50,500, so 50,000 we reached yesterday when about 450 migrants came across the Channel. We were awaiting the Home Office official confirmation of what the numbers were. But then just this morning, we got 250 who've already arrived in Dover Harbour, 220, sorry, who've already arrived, but 3 more small boats out there, with at least another 150, probably a bit more, heading towards the UK. So it's quickly ticking up again. And I just think 50,000 as a milestone is such a sobering figure, given that the Labour government has only been in office just over a year, 13 months. So to rack up 50,000 migrant crossings illegally in that time is a very significant figure, and there's no sign, in fact, exactly the opposite is the case, that the numbers crossing are not slowing down, despite all the various initiatives that the government has been introducing. They're continuing to speed up. Now, some of that will be, of course, due to the fact that we're entering the flat, calm summer months when more traditionally come anyway. But regardless, if these changes, the deals that the British government was announcing with various other governments, including, of course, just last Wednesday, this new partial returns deal, if they were actually making an impact, even being in the flat, calm summer months, we would be seeing at least a slowdown, and we're not. We're just hitting record numbers every single day.
And they're record numbers for Keir Starmer, aren't they? He's very much beating his predecessors on this, reaching that milestone quicker.
Boris Johnson took 1,066 days to reach this milestone.
1066.
Rishi Sunak took, I think it was 640-something days. Keir Starmer's done it in just over 400.
Well done him. That's incredible work.
He won that competition.
But I suppose here's the thing. We've been counting from the day at which he entered number 10. The annual figures will be the next big stepping stone. The highest year on record was 2023.
2022, when 46,000 crossed the Channel. Last year, 36,000 crossed the Channel. So that was another significant year. But already now we passed 27,000. And just a couple of days ago, I broke the news we'd passed 26,000. So that shows you how quickly, during the summer months, these things change.
Are we on course to then beat 2022, the highest year on record?
Without a doubt. Within the next 6 weeks, we should pass 36,000, the number for the whole of last year. And then we only have another 10,000 to go, with still plenty of good summer. And even in the autumn, we have actually, well, now all year round, the migrants come anytime there are good weather.
You say 2022 was the highest year on record. I remember when I was looking up these comparisons just earlier this morning, the number of days it took for Boris Johnson, for Rishi Sunak, for Keir Starmer. I did look up Liz Truss as well, who was Prime Minister, of course, for 49 days. And in that time, over 10,000 people arrived by small boats, just in those 49 days in September and October 2022. So it's entirely possible, if we have another year that looks like that, or even worse, that even in a less than 2-month period, even after the peak of those summer months, you're getting 10,000 coming across in just that short amount of time.
And there's probably a pre-winter rush as well, I imagine, before the weather gets really bad. But the numbers are just... I see a lot of people recently trying to say, well, compared to illegal migration figures, this is a drop in the ocean. Why are people scaremongering about
just such
these people coming
nonsense.
over and all of this? And it's pretty flipping obvious why people are worried about undocumented men coming by the boatload over the channel every day.
With legal migration, we as a country are inviting these people in, either to come and work, to come in on student visas, come as part of a family unit, whatever the reason. You may agree or disagree with the numbers, that they are too high, too low, just about right, whatever. But these are legal migrants. The difference with what we're seeing in the Channel is these are illegal crossings. They may go on then, of course, to claim asylum, but they are illegal entries into the UK, the most visible manifestation of the illegal migrant crisis. So, of course, people are going to get rightly concerned about what they see on a daily basis across the English Channel.
Yeah. Well, well put.
Let's have no more of this nonsense.
Well, you hear a lot of it recently, haven't
This
you?
we shall not put. Well, Mark White, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through those twin issues there.
Those twin issues, yes.
Now, Britain's unemployment rates remained at a 4-year high of 4.7% in the last quarter as job vacancies continued to decline.
Yes, the number of job vacancies dropped by 44,000 over the 3-month period, marking the lowest level of job openings since April 2021.
That was during the pandemic. The Office for National Statistics is warning that the Labour market is cooling, with more job losses expected, especially in hospitality and in retail.
Well, joining us now is former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. Paul, why do you think that there are fewer job listings at the moment?
Hello, good afternoon. Well, I mean, the ONS figures are quite interesting if you look at the detail. So, for example, there are more people actually in work now than any time in our history, 34 million people in work, which is a record high. And there have been 384,000 jobs created since the election. But there is obviously massive churn in the economy, and some sectors are really suffering. People are choosing not to shop in shops anymore, and they're shopping online instead. People are changing their habits around hospitality and going out, and some of those sectors are affected too. I was pleased to see the top of the news was about the new technical colleges opening, so we can get some skills into the economy, because that's one way we'll tackle the jobs crisis. But it is an economy in flux, and it is tough out there.
Yeah, and of course what we're seeing, particularly worrying, is for young people, new starters, the lowest paid, people just on the start of their career journey. That is where we're seeing the biggest drops in employment. It, of course, has become much more expensive to hire someone on a low wage recently because of the employers' national insurance increase, because of the minimum wage increase ahead and above of any productivity increases. Is there a role here that government policy has made? I completely take your point about international headwinds, about changing habits. Even AI is having some impact here. But is there not a role too of government policy, particularly Rachel Reeves' last budget, that has just made it harder, particularly for hospitality settings, to hire new young people?
Well, only half of businesses actually were affected by those changes, and the other half were, obviously, and we know that some of them are suffering as a result. But I am encouraged by the shift towards the conversation around apprenticeships. Because I think for a long time we've just focused on university. We're going to have the A-level results in a bit. You know, it's all about that route into work. And actually, I think apprenticeships, if they can be rolled out much more across every part of the country in every trade, will provide those kind of access jobs, ways into work to earn and learn at the same time that you're describing, Tom, for young people in particular, and avoid 3 or 4 years worth of university fees debts as well, and boost the economy that way. So not everyone needs to go to a university and, you know, study an esoteric subject. I mean, my master's is in Victorian studies, so I can't really comment. But, you know,
well, another time of great upheaval in the economy.
I'd love to see my kids go into apprenticeships, though, if they want to do, you know.
Well, yeah,
trade.
but this is the problem.
What a great thing to do. So I think we need a bit of a shift around the attitude towards the sorts of things that our young people are capable of doing as well. And also, I'm afraid this is really unpopular, but there is a mental health issue here. A lot of young people, having gone through COVID and being excluded from school, social media, all of these things are not job ready. They're not psychologically fit for the workplace. So we need to address.
Well, I mean, I think you're going away from maybe some of the decisions that Rachel Reeves made, that businesses are very much complaining about: the national insurance, the minimum wage hikes, the impending extra regulations on small businesses and bigger businesses, are like the threat of further taxes coming down the line in October, November time. I mean, Paul, I'm not sure really that hiring is down because of mental health necessarily. Paul, it's decisions the government made.
I will also absolutely defend the increases in the national minimum wage as well. I don't think young people should be exploited. I think they should get a decent rate of pay for being a young worker.
Is it not good to get a foot in the door, though, over being unemployed and on benefits, Paul?
Well, we had that in the past where young people were, you know, these sort of zero contracts hours for £1 an hour, £2 an hour, you know, when I was a young person. I just don't think that is a foot in the door. I think that's just being ripped off and being
But when Tony
exploited.
Blair
So
introduced the minimum wage, he gave a different rate for 18 to 21-year-olds than he did for over 21-year-olds to avoid the youth unemployment problem that is often associated with minimum wages. We have run to time, Paul, but I do really appreciate you putting across that case. Former Labour Special Advisor, thanks for joining us.
Of course, it was Tony Blair that pushed for everyone to go to university over apprenticeships. Anyway, time for the Great British Giveaway and your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year, plus an extra £5,000 in the bank. And if you don't have a mortgage and you don't have rent to pay, £15,000 is up for grabs as well. Here's the details.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I wanted to show you something.
Okay, what do we got?
We got,
A briefcase.
Yep.
Mint green with TS
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
What's in it?
This is my brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl.
TS12!
Amazingly, that was Taylor Swift announcing her new album. Now, I didn't think of Taylor Swift as someone who sort of went on shouty podcasts.
Podcast.
But apparently, maybe she's got more of a male audience than I thought she did.
It's very much female, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, I've seen... We've seen some of her big sort of stadium tours in the United Kingdom before on this show, and the audience, the queues are exclusively sort of tween-age girls.
Tween-age, yes.
Yeah.
And some go with their daddies, which is quite cute.
That is true. But there is a question here, because Taylor Swift is coming back to the United Kingdom.
Back, baby.
Last time she was here, her tour injected £1 billion in the British economy. And so the question is, could it be Taylor Swift who rides to the government's rescue, who saves Rachel Reeves' bacon with another tour injecting lots of new cash into our economy? Could it happen?
Could it happen? We're going to debate that next.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those big questions. Do get involved. gbnews.com/yoursay. Can anything save Rachel Reeves? Could even Taylor Swift? Well, we'll be discussing that in a little bit's time. But
She's
let's
hard working, isn't she, Taylor Swift?
Oh, well, she just writes songs and songs and songs, doesn't she?
Constantly.
Should we catch up on the news?
I think so.
Very good afternoon. The top story this half hour. Well, breaking news. A woman who was hired as a killer and tried to shoot a man in Birmingham at point-blank range has been found guilty of conspiracy to murder. Jurors deliberated for almost 21 hours before convicting would-be assassin Amy Betro. Over 50,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel since Sir Keir Starmer took office, with 220 more arriving so far today. Despite a partial deal with France and the promise of stronger measures, the Prime Minister has admitted it will take time to reduce the crossings. Britain's universal credit claimants have reached a record 8 million, with nearly half exempt from work requirements. New claims average $58,000 a week as the cost of living squeeze continues. Meanwhile, UK unemployment holds at 4.7%. That is the highest in 4 years. The latest figures show job vacancies have dropped by 44,000, while wage growth remains at 5%. The ONS is warning the labour market is cooling, with more job losses expected. Sir Keir Starmer will join European leaders and Donald Trump on a call tomorrow before the president meets Putin in Alaska. The UK warns peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed, while Trump suggests land swapping might be needed to end the conflict. And Britain is facing highs of 34 degrees today in the latest heat wave, prompting health warnings. The UK Health Security Agency has issued alerts with concerns over heat-related deaths and wildfires. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you at 2 o'clock. Now, though, over to Tom and Emily.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 32 minutes past 1. Now, a new report for Notting Hill Carnival urges ticketing, I should say. This new report urging ticketing for Notting Hill Carnival to prevent a Hillsborough-style disaster.
Yes, Susan Hall, the Conservative member of the London Assembly, former mayoral candidate who produced the report, she's warning that the event has narrowly avoided mass crushes in recent years.
Well, the report also proposes using ticket revenue to fund policing, following 2 deaths at last year's Carnival, which draws over 2 million people.
OK, so is this a good idea? Well, joining us now to debate this is leader of the Conservatives, Susan Hall, and also founder of Director of Explode Social Media, Lindy Mangaza. Thank you very much indeed. Susan Hall, go on then, make the pitch. Why should we change the way we do the Notting Hill Carnival?
The police have warned us that it could be very dangerous with a sort of a Hillsborough-type crush, and you've just shown a video there of people sort of pushed together like sardines. And you only need something to cause a rush, and there would be a real catastrophic event. So it needs to be looked at. We need to somehow try and control numbers. They think there's about 2 million people that go, and you know the streets around there, they're very, very narrow. And we know that rival gangs go there. So ticketing would actually make it so that we knew who was going. And if it was charged as well, then the taxpayer wouldn't pick up these tens of millions of pounds worth of bills.
Yeah, Lindy...
That's it in a nutshell. There's lots of other suggestions.
Yeah, so let's go to Lindy now, because it is true that the Carnival, very popular, it's grown a lot in recent years, but along with it does come a big policing issue and, undeniably, lots of crime.
I have been going to Notting Hill Carnival since I was a child. I think we need to put things in perspective here. Hillsborough happened 36 years ago. Since then, policing and crowd control has come on hugely. As somebody who attends festivals and music events a lot, there's a huge risk when ticketing, when you've got people queuing up, whether it's scanning a QR code or showing a ticket, that also creates a big issue and a bottleneck. I think what we need to do is look at stewarding, crowd control, and really look to the police and stewards and organisers who are already looking into this to really make it a safe event for people to attend. Notting Hill Carnival as an event brings so much joy into London and into the whole of the UK. It's estimated about £93 million are brought into the economy from it. Adding tickets will lower numbers, lower money, and it potentially will create more issues. I think it's a ludicrous idea.
It would make it safer, though, wouldn't it, Lindy, to be fair?
Would it make it safer if people are queuing up to scan a QR code, all waiting to get through one little barrier? Would it make it safer if
well, people who bring knives wouldn't turn up, would they?
Tickets?
Would people who plan to bring knives turn up, Lindy, if they had to go, you know, with a ticket and scan their QR code and potentially get checked on the way in?
I think we should put it in perspective. Everything that happens at Notting Hill Carnival is pretty comparable to any other large-scale music event. No. And I think we've got to really think about the fact that, you know, this is something that has been happening for so many years.
OK. Let's bring Susan Hall back in there. You were shaking your head there.
Well, I am shaking my head. I mean, granted, it's a wonderful event and it's a victim of its own success, which is why so many people go. But you've just got to look at last year's event. 2 people were murdered in separate attacks. There were 7 people were stabbed, 3 left with life-threatening conditions, and 349 people were arrested. The police are the ones that are saying that they are very, very worried about a crushing event. You know, we've also got to look at the cost of this. The police spend tens of millions on this. We can't even open front counters of the police because they're so short of money. They're also so short of resource and officers because of everything else going on. We've got to look at this in the round. And one could argue, I mean, you could ticket it, you could even see if you're going to get a sponsor, but why should taxpayers pay tens of millions for this when they can't even get a local police officer around because they are so short of officers?
Well, we'll see what happens. The debate rages on, doesn't it? We're going to have to leave it there. We've run out of time. I'm really sorry. Lindy Mangaza and Susan Hall there debating the future of Notting Hill Carnival.
Well, coming up after the break, can Taylor Swift save Rachel Reeves' bacon? That next.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We had some thundery showers overnight. Any remaining ones should ease away this morning. Cloud widely clearing to blue skies, but it is set to be another day of sunshine and hot temperatures. And it's all thanks to high pressure towards mainland Europe, dragging in a southerly flow of air. And we're really picking up a lot of that heat from mainland Europe. And at times we could still see some remnants of those showers across northern parts of England, Northern Ireland. But as I say, they should ease away into the afternoon. And a thicker area of cloud towards the northwest of Scotland. At times across the Northern Isles, this may produce some light outbreaks of rain, but for the large majority of the country, plenty of sunshine and another hot day. Widely across the Midlands, parts of South and South East England, we are going to be pushing into the mid-30s with high UV levels, so do take care in the sunshine. Now, those blue skies may just start to be replaced by something a little cloudier across some southern and southwestern coasts. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine to finish off the day. Still a risk of showers just starting to push into Northern Ireland and similar across parts of Scotland. But any showers should be mostly isolated, and still that thicker area of cloud lingering across the far northwest, creating a hazy end to the day. And through the course of the evening, we'll see more and more of that cloud push in from the English Channel, moving into parts of south and southwest England and perhaps parts of Wales. And any inland areas could start to see some low cloud develop, possibly some fog in prone spaces. But otherwise, it should remain mostly dry, and it is set to be another mild and muggy night. Many towns and cities, particularly once again across central and southern parts, not dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So it's going to be another mild and possibly quite uncomfortable night for some. Now, any cloud lingering through across Wales, parts of southwest England, should eventually break up through the course of the day, allowing those blue skies to redevelop. Still a risk of showers across the far north of Scotland and potentially some across the far southeast. But once again, another dry, sunny day and feeling warm in the sunshine.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Warwickshire, on the M40 northbound, a vehicle fire closes one of 3 lanes between junctions 15 and 16. On the A34 southbound in West Berkshire, a broken down vehicle causes a lane closure between the A4 185 and the M4. Meanwhile, in Hampshire, the M3 westbound has lane closures due to a collision between junctions 8 and 9. The M4 westbound is shut between junctions 45 and 46, with diversions implemented. And on the trains, Great Western Railway uses taxis to replace trains between Maidenhead and Marlow, with disruptions on the London Overground through West Croydon. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, it's 1:40. Good afternoon, Britain. Now, Taylor Swift, the pop star icon extraordinaire, has done it again. She's sending her fans into meltdown with a midnight reveal of her 12th studio... 12th?
She's only about 12 years old.
12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl.
Well,
Good
let's
title.
take a listen to that moment now.
I wanted to show you something.
Okay, what do we got?
We got...
A briefcase.
Yep.
Mint green with TS
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
What's in it?
This is my brand new album, The Life of a Showgirl.
TS12!
I mean, it's just the most extraordinary announcement. Is this how pop stars announce their new videos these days?
That's
Their new
Jason and
albums?
Travis Kelch.
Right.
And,
A popular podcast.
yeah, apparently so.
Well,
I can't tell you much more about it.
Shall we discuss this with the former Conservative MP and indeed big Taylor Swift fan, Deanna Davison? Deanna, thanks so much for being on the
He's got a
show
t-shirt on.
with us
Not at all.
and repping the Swiftie fandom quite so well. Could Taylor Swift bring in another £1 billion to the British economy this time round?
Well, who knows? If indeed there is a tour from Life of a Showgirl, potentially. I mean, analysis by Barclays found that when you average out the spend per fan of her last UK tour, it did bring in just under £1 billion of kind of additional funds into the UK economy, which is absolutely staggering. But this is a really exciting moment for Swifties. We are into these things called Easter eggs, which is basically where we look out for clues that are dropped by Taylor Swift. And she has a habit of doing this, putting in little clues into her music videos or her social media posts. And there have been a few clues leading up to this week. And then indeed yesterday, there was a post from her sort of her fan account, which is run by her people, that said, thinking about when Taylor said, "See you next era," with 12 photographs for the 12th album, all in the colour orange, which has been rumoured to be the colour of her latest album. And then lo and behold, we've had this announcement today. So I think the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason Kelsey is probably going to get a whole new surge in listenership tomorrow when they drop that new episode with Taylor Swift in it.
Why is she so popular? Why does she capture such a huge proportion of particularly young people in this country, in America as well? I mean, she seems to have just sort of transcended what the normal level of stardom is.
But it's quite staggering. As someone who has been a fan since about 2008 now, seeing her kind of meteoric rise from this kind of little-ish known country star to this absolute A-list pop megastar has been quite inspiring. For me, it's the fact that she writes all of her own music and really gets into the nitty-gritty of the production. So every single thing that she produces is either biographical, it's her telling a story about her own life, almost like glimpsing into her diary, or it's kind of fictional stories that she's created in this incredibly poetic mind of hers. So I think her attention to detail, but also her dedication to her fans, she really makes it fun to be a Taylor Swift fan, with things like Easter eggs, with the merchandise. I'm rocking one of my many pieces of Taylor Swift merchandise today. And just with that sort of fan interaction, in her early days as an artist, she would be very active on social media, responding to fans, contributing to fans' sort of GoFundMe, sending her top fans gifts, inviting them to listening parties of her new album. So I think she's been very cautious to really build a positive and constructive relationship with her fans, which means that those of us who were there way back in 2008 have stayed with her. But her music, I think, speaks to an awful lot of people because of that biographical nature. It really allows you to feel it.
She's just flipping hard-working as well, isn't she, Deanna? I mean, she doesn't stop. You know, you thought Beyoncé was hard-working, but Taylor Swift, I think, is even more so. She must constantly be writing, constantly, and constantly practising, performing, whatever it is.
Well, absolutely. She talked about the training that she did for her last tour, the Eras tour. And in order to get into peak physical fitness, to be able to kind of run across the stage and sing and perform for 3 hours, she was running on a treadmill for 3 hours at various paces, singing along to the songs to make sure that she had enough energy and enough in her lungs to really do it. But her hard work, I mean, she's always taken her career very seriously. It isn't just something that she's fallen into. She's worked at everything, be it her songwriting, her dancing, her singing ability, but also being able to pull it together into this absolute masterpiece. And of course, we were only midway through the Eras tour when we got the surprise announcement that she was dropping another album, an album that she'd been writing while she was on tour, performing several nights a week. And now we've learned there's another album, which inevitably she will have been writing during that tour. I do think it shows that she is passionate about music and is passionate about songwriting and does it because she loves it, not just to produce a new album. So as a fan, it is a very exciting day and I've got an enormous spring in my step, I have to say.
Well, it seems odds on for another tour coming to the United Kingdom, and perhaps not the too distant future. Deanna Davison, thanks so much for joining us and talking through the Swiftie fandom there.
Yeah. Also, she's quite PG relative to other pop stars. I don't know if that plays well in certain sections of America, certainly.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of pop stars who've come out recently who perhaps you wouldn't want a 8-year-old girl to be singing along to their lyrics.
Yes, perhaps not. Although some of her lyrics are a bit spicy, a bit catty.
Gosh. Well, perhaps you'd like to listen to Taylor Swift abroad. If so, here's the travel weather.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and across many parts of southern Europe, there will be some showery rain around, but plenty of sunshine. And I think the biggest talking point is the exceptional heat. Some very warm air over North Africa has spread northwards into parts of Spain, Portugal, and is going to push into France and Germany as well. Coastal spots are going to be, well, very warm, but it's inland areas where temperatures are going to be exceptionally high, both by day and by night. Plenty of sunshine, like I said, however.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Plenty more to come on today's programme. Indeed, aside from the latest on the migration crisis, we're also going to be covering heartbreak for the Beckhams. Yes, David and Victoria left stunned as their eldest son, Brooklyn, renews vows with Nicola Peltz, whoever she is, in a secret ceremony, whatever that was, without a single family member invited, whoever they are.
the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is the small boat crossing that everyone can cheer on, going from Fulham all the way back to HMS President in the city of London. It's going very well. I've walked 10 miles this morning with some armed forces veterans, their families, campaigners. GB News is raising money for SAFA and other armed forces charities as part of that Armed Forces Day celebration. Amazing viewers and listeners have raised £2,000 already. And after that grueling 10-miler, which I have to say was done at quite a gentle pace, are now being treated to this luxurious return back to the starting point on board an HMS, a Royal Navy vessel. This is President 01. This is a training vessel that they use for reservists and also Royal Navy sailors as they make use of the Thames. We've had some great sights already. As we've been going back, we've seen plenty of people taking part in that SAFA 13 Bridges March, waving down on us. I think they're probably slightly jealous that they're still working away and we're enjoying the hospitality of the Royal Navy. But over 1,200 people taking part today, Dawn. Over 150 of them military reservists like myself and Will Mayrick, the producer for today's programme, doing excellent work. He's an RAF officer, in fact, I have to call him sir, which can get very embarrassing. But we're doing great work today, I think, really showcasing the armed forces. It's been amazing to speak to so many veterans, their families, and also many serving personnel on this March day as well. And we're just coming under, there's Vauxhall Bridge there. We've got MI6 to the right, very exciting. Always a beautiful sight, that iconic building. And there's going to be a lot of people still on the march as we go past, we accept. We just had some waves from the bridge earlier.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Well, it's Tom's favourite story time now. Yes,
Oh, yeah.
It's 1:50, and this is Good Afternoon Britain. It's the Beckham family's summer, and it's taken a dramatic turn, with reports now claiming David and Victoria are heartbroken because their eldest son, Brooklyn, decided to renew his vows with a secret ceremony to Nicola Peltz, the billionaire heiress, an American actress, without inviting a single relative from the Beckham side.
Well, this is supposed to be a big scandal because the secret ceremony held in New York saw only Nicola's family centre stage.
Well, I think it is a bit of a scandal, actually. Let's speak to showbiz journalist Ed Gleave on this. Ed, has Nicola Peltz stolen Brooklyn Beckham from his family?
Well, that's one theory. I mean, it's definitely a major rift. It's been going on since 2021. It sort of became even more apparent when they were absent from David's 50th birthday celebrations earlier this year. Also, there was lots of rumours of problems when they had their first wedding, and now they've renewed their vows and none of the Beckhams were invited. You know, obviously not Victoria, David, but none of Brooklyn's siblings, no grandparents, aunts, anything. And it's rumoured that David and Victoria read about it happening on People's website, so they found out in the way that we all have. So there is clearly some sort of major issue in the family.
What could it be?
Well, I mean, it's possible that, you know, the person who's married, they just don't like her, or there's an issue. I mean, there's rumours that when they first got married, Victoria agreed to design the wedding dress and then went back on that claim. Also, there's other rumours that Victoria hijacked the first dance. So it's potentially like a multitude of issues. A lot of it is speculation, but there is clearly something wrong.
To a sceptical onlooker, why should I care?
Well, I think people need escapism. We don't want to always focus on super serious news. There's a reason that reality TV gets very high figures. Gossip magazines sell really well. People like escapism. I mean, the royal family, a lot of the time, don't really contribute anything specific, but people just like the escapism and the gossip and the sort of joy of it all. So I guess for a younger generation, the Beckhams and others are a bit like the royal family. They're sort of just something to read about and talk about and have a bit of fun. And it looks like you could do with a bit more showbiz news. You might enjoy it if you.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Ed Gleave, thank you very much. Showbiz journalist, thank you. And Tom, I would note that actually a few of our viewers have got in touch saying how important an issue it is. The idea of family estrangement. It's something that many families face up and down the country. As I said before, you know, your son meets a woman, they get married, and you never hear from him again. Is that what's happening here? I mean, it can happen the other way, but it does tend to happen that way.
Interesting. Well, no, I suppose, yes, people can sort of see their own situation through this. Yes.
And it's this sort of...
But I don't know.
You get to wonder why.
I'm just sceptical because I just know that isn't this what happens in Hollywood all the time? These people aren't necessarily a normal family.
Yeah, but they were supposed to be a nice family who loved each other, who took pictures everywhere. You know, David Beckham, one of the ambassadors of our country around the world. And it's all falling apart.
And yet, for the children who've grown up in the media spotlight, who marry children of billionaires who've grown up in the media spotlight in their own way, it's not going to be normal. It's not going to be able to be sort of directly comparable to sort of, you know, an everyday family life.
Well, no, but people are still the same, regardless, really, you know. People still have the same emotions and ways of feeling and... I think it's interesting anyway. I wonder why this has happened, and I think that maybe Nicola Peltz is a very difficult young woman.
Gosh, well, do get involved. gbnews.com/your say is the way to get involved as ever. But don't go anywhere, of course. We are going to be talking about lots more in this programme. Indeed, would you step in to stop disruption or criminal activity on public transport? That's next after this.
It's a good one.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of late evening sunshine to end the day, but it will eventually see more cloud pushing in from the southwest, and for all it is set to be another mild and quite muggy night at times, and that's still due to a southeasterly flow bringing in that warm air from the near continent, and at times it is going to pick up some moisture from the English Channel and drag in some quite low cloud at times across parts of Wales and across southern counties of England, leading us to a fairly murky start. Also a fair few showers just pushing into northeastern parts of Scotland. These could be heavy. You may even hear the odd rumble of thunder overnight. But for many, it's set to be dry. It is going to be warm once again, though. Some towns and cities, particularly across central areas and parts of the south, not really dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So another warm, muggy start to the day. And quite grey in places, particularly southern Wales, southern counties. But this cloud will break up through the course of the day, perhaps thick enough at times to produce the odd isolated shower. A much brighter start, though, across Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some sunshine to start the day, and then still some showers just lingering on across the far north and northeast of Scotland. Some thicker cloud towards the northwest too, which once again may lead to a murky start in some isolated places. But any low cloud will lift and break through the course of the morning, particularly across parts of the southwest, leading to once again another dry, settled day. Plenty of sunshine by the time we reach the afternoon. There are some isolated showers just pushing into parts of Scotland, maybe even later across parts of the southeast. Some of these could turn heavy and thundery, but for most, dry, settled, feeling hot once again. Highs reaching around 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, this time more across eastern and northeastern parts of England. Later on into the evening, once again, we do just need to keep an eye on those showers across the southeast and across Scotland in case they do start to turn quite thundery. And then for the rest of the week, the start of the weekend, plenty of sunshine once again, and still feeling warm where we catch the sunshine as well.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks to see how you can win your mortgage or rent paid for a whole year. That's a cash lump sum equivalent to 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to a whopping £20,000. Plus, we'll add an extra £5,000 on top for good measure. Make sure you don't miss out as lines close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Chu, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Tuesday, the 12th of August. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm Emily Carver.
Well, the number of non-UK nationals out of work has hit a record high, with nearly 1.3 million foreign nationals now claiming universal credit.
Well, the number of foreign nationals now claiming universal credit has increased by more than 40% in just 3 years.
Shocking new figures reveal one A&E worker is attacked every 2 hours as violence in hospitals reaches record levels.
Now, UK jobs hit 2-year low after Rachel Reeves's tax raid. Vacancies tumble and payroll numbers dip as businesses tighten hiring across almost every sector.
Now, tube passengers who restrained a man for exposing himself could now face arrest as British Transport Police investigate whether they broke the law during the confrontation. So, should you step in when you see something like this?
Elsewhere, Nicola Sturgeon says she can't breathe freely in Scotland and hints she'd swap Edinburgh for London.
And yes, it is a scorcher out there in most of the country. Temperatures are set to soar past 30 degrees.
Fish and chips, ice cream, donuts, and that's just my diet for the day. Thousands of people across the country enjoying the beautiful British seaside as temperatures soar to as high as 34 degrees. I'll have all of the details for you.
Now, There's a lot of bad behaviour on tubes. I think that recent incident of a man exposing himself, his genitals, on a packed carriage is up there. But there have been rapes, there have been sexual assaults, there have been just general antisocial behaviour has become more prevalent, I would argue. But would you step in?
I think it's a really difficult question to ask, because obviously...
Because you're the man, I obviously wouldn't.
Wow, that's an imposition. But I think that there's generally a really difficult balance.
Actually, that's a lie. I have stepped in before.
Because obviously, I mean, if it's some kids playing music on a speakerphone, anyone can tell them to stop.
Would
right?
you? Do you?
I think it would depend how big the children were. But I'm sorry, I'm not necessarily going to jump in front of someone that might be carrying a knife. I'm not necessarily, if someone's sort of doing something that looks vandalous and dangerous.
Well, you chased after two men who hadn't paid for their tickets for the tube, and they could have been quite menacing.
Yeah,
you never know.
Daylight. I didn't feel threatened by that.
You could have been, though.
Maybe.
So that was quite brave.
Maybe, but I mean, I think it's got to be on a case-by-case. You can't just always say, oh, I would always intervene or I would never intervene. I think everyone's got their own threshold of what they feel is OK to do.
I think the threat of bladed articles in people's pockets is what's preventing more people from doing something.
Do you think more people would necessarily would step up and sort of because you do
it's the threat of knives.
You do need society to sort of step in to enforce social norms.
Yeah.
You can't just expect there is a law here and everyone will abide by it if you don't have a sort of social enforcement.
Brendan O'Neill, who we had on the show yesterday, didn't we, talking about the protests in Westminster, he wrote a piece for The Spectator on this about how he's becoming more of a Karen. He's embracing his Karen-like attitudes.
Now, explain what a Karen is.
OK, a Karen is something that I am increasingly like. And it is basically a caricature of a woman who doesn't mind her own business and gets involved in things when potentially she doesn't need to. So, for example, she sees some kids shouting, she'll run over and tell them to shut up. She'll get involved if there's someone littering. She'll get involved in someone else's business. She might poke through the curtains and spy on her neighbours.
Do you think Britain needs more Karens?
I think we do, yeah. And I am becoming one. I always tell you how I told those kids to stop littering. Put their rubbish in the bins. But yes, but I would hope that if someone was revealing themselves in a threatening way on a tube carriage that I was on, that there would be men there who were willing to intervene.
Well, we'll be discussing that and so much more after your latest news headlines.
Very good afternoon to you from the newsroom. Just after 2 o'clock, the top story today. Well, more than 50,000 migrants have crossed the Channel in small boats since Sir Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. That milestone passed on Monday is still climbing. So far today, another 220 making the journey from France and 3 small boats still on the water. It brings this year's total to more than 27,000 people. It also comes less than a week after Labour's return deal with France came into force. People smugglers have still sent more than 1,500 migrants across the water in that time. The government insists its new Border Security Command and tougher legislation will cut numbers, but warns the results will take time. Meanwhile, the number of people claiming universal credit has hit a record 8 million. That is the highest since the benefit was introduced in 2013. Official figures show a jump of more than 1 million in the past year, driven almost entirely by those not required to work. That now stands at 3.7 million. The group includes people in full-time education, parents with very young children, pensioners and those deemed to have no prospect of work. Labour says it inherited a broken welfare system from the Conservatives and says it's tightening rules on who can claim. And that comes as Britain's unemployment rate has held today at a 4-year high. Job vacancies also falling to their lowest since 2021. The ONS says unemployment stayed at 4.7% in the 3 months to June, while vacancies dropped by 44,000 to just over 700,000 in total. Hospitality and retail saw the biggest payroll losses, with overall employee numbers falling in 10 of the past 12 months. Wage growth held at 5%, but after inflation's taken into account, that's just 1.5% as the cost of living continues to rise. Sir Keir Starmer has confirmed he will be joining a call with European leaders and Donald Trump ahead of the US president's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Alaska. That comes on Friday. The Prime Minister's warning peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed on it, amid fears that Kyiv is being sidelined from talks. Donald Trump has confirmed the Friday's summit will go ahead without Volodymyr Zelensky and suggested Ukraine might need to give up territory, describing Russian-occupied land as oceanfront property. Downing Street says the UK will back Mr Trump's efforts for peace, but warns, quote, never trust Putin as far as you can throw him. Temperatures are set to hit 34 degrees today as England is bracing for now its fourth heat wave of the summer. Amber heat health warnings are in place across London, South East, East and West Midlands and the east of England, with the rest of the country on a yellow alert. As of 1 o'clock this afternoon, the hottest temperature so far today is in Gloucester, sweltering under 31 degrees Celsius. An air pollution alert has been issued for London as those temperatures are climbing today. City Hall says that the strong sunshine will trigger high ozone levels, with airflow from mainland Europe making conditions worse. The warning, displayed on bus stop boards, tube signs and also sent to schools, is urging Londoners to avoid idling engines and not to burn wood or garden waste. And more than 40,000 future builders, electricians, carpenters and plumbers will be trained at new state-of-the-art technical excellence colleges across England. The government says the specialist centres, one in every region, will provide homegrown workforce needed to deliver new homes, schools and new hospitals. Ministers say it's about reducing reliance on overseas labour and backing British workers with well-paid and high-skilled jobs. You're up to date just after 2 o'clock. Let's take a look next at the markets.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
And here's how the markets are shaping up this hour. The pound will buy you $1.3465 and €1.1594. The price of gold is at £2,487.93 per ounce. And the FTSE 100 is currently at 9,159 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 9 minutes past 2. Now, almost 9 out of 10 pharmacies have reported a surge in both shoplifting and aggression towards staff over the past year.
Yes, it's a disturbing trend, and it comes as new data reveals violence against A&E nurses as well has almost doubled in the past 6 years, with nurses being punched, spat at, pinned against walls, threatened with acid and even faced with guns, driven by patients' growing frustration over longer wait times, apparently. In fact, one nurse is now attacked every 2 hours.
Poor nurse. Well, joining us now is the pharmacy owner, Ashley Cohen. Ashley, thanks for joining us this afternoon. This is a really serious issue, actually. Just the way in which sort of, I guess, this sense of law and order, of almost anxiety you must feel when someone walks into a pharmacy. Are they going to come and take stuff off the shelves, or are they going to be a normal, law-abiding customer?
Very, very worrying statistic, and it's very interesting to see that this is being mirrored in our accident and emergency department. So it's not just specific to ourselves, the pharmacy sector, but you're so right that there is an endemic, and you use the word a surge in theft and criminality. And I'm not just talking about petty theft of a little bit of shoplifting, but we're seeing wanton vandalism, we're seeing aggressive behaviour. And a lot of this might be down to people's frustrations about not accessing healthcare when and how they may want it. And we're getting very angry customers in our pharmacies. And unlike other NHS organisations, we have nowhere to hide. We are the front line of the front line. And so we feel very exposed.
Yeah, what sort of things are people coming in and nicking from the shelves, Ashley?
Well, I've got a small chain of pharmacies in Yorkshire. So we had, on almost a weekly basis, people coming in and literally taking anything that was up by the front door. We've now stopped any medicines or toiletries in the retail area to stop that. But what I'm hearing from other colleagues is that they're taking anything that's available, whether it be shampoos, toiletries. But there's a serious element to this as well, because apart from the petty theft, and we are on the high street, we are retail, so we do expect an element of theft. I'm seeing more sinister, serious, organised crimes, whereas individuals are trying to access our dispensaries overnight through removing the lead off our tiled roofs, whilst trying to get through security doors and tunnelling their way into our dispensaries. Because at the end of the day, we stop potent medicines, and in the wrong hands, I think there's a black market for those. So there are some serious
So it could be strong painkillers, for example, or sleep aids that people can then sell on. So basically, drug dealers essentially are robbing pharmacies.
Yeah, we're seeing some organised criminal activity within our pharmacies, alongside what you've described, where you get angry patients, angry customers, in terms of accessing a quick theft within the pharmacy. In our pharmacy in Leeds, we had a brick thrown through our window on 3 occasions, and as soon as we'd repaired it, within 2 days, they threw another one through. So it's very unsettling for my pharmacy teams. Leads to quite a lot of anxiety. And you have to remember that every incident of crime in a pharmacy isn't just a number, it's not just a statistic, but it's a very worried, very unsettled member of staff, and it's also a missed opportunity for vital healthcare.
And how have you found dealing with the authorities when incidents like the brick throwing happens? When clearly, I mean, I'm guessing here, but it must be the same person with a particular vendetta against this. When you tell the police about wanton violence and vandalism like that, do you get a good response, or do they close the case?
I've raised it with police, and I've raised it with local council and local councillors on a number of occasions. Previously, I mean, I've worked in community pharmacy for well over 25 years. When there was an incident involving pharmacies, you'd contact the police. You would get blue light response and somebody within your pharmacy within minutes. Now, unfortunately, I think the report by the National Pharmacy Association that did that report that you highlighted earlier on, I think they said that 73% of those that responded felt that they weren't resolved to any level of satisfaction. Most of the times we're told, here's your crime reference number, go claim on your insurance.
Yeah, and that's a story that a lot of people, we hear from a lot of people anecdotally. Ashley Cohen, really appreciate your time, pharmacy owner. Good luck with your business, and I hope the shoplifters stop.
Get their just desserts.
You'll get their just desserts, yes, more importantly.
Now, we should say that data released by the Department for Work and Pensions shows that in July 2025, there were almost 1.3 million foreign nationals claiming universal credit.
Yes, at the same time, illegal migration is increasing. A new milestone has been hit today. Yes, now over 50,000 migrants crossing the Channel since Labour took office.
Well, the number was reached after 430 migrants made the journey yesterday, but the Prime Minister says he is confident, somehow, that the government will reduce those small boat numbers.
And Kemi Badenoch, the leader of the opposition, spoke to Christopher Hope, our political editor, a little earlier. She's got some new ideas on how to accommodate illegal migrants and asylum seekers in this country. Mark White's with us, our Home and Security editor. She's talking about things like camps, she's talking about things like detention centres, talking about how the cost of hotels and also the safety issue is very bad. She also says HMOs are the worst of all solutions.
Yeah, we'll get on to Kemi's comments in just a sec.
Oh, sorry. I jumped the gun, did I?
No, not at all.
Something's happening, because Mark White has 2 mobile phones in front of him.
What's happening?
So we know that there could be some news.
Well, it's only telling us what we know and what we broadcast on this channel last night, that we'd passed the 50,000 mark. Everybody else now breaking it because the official Home Office figures have come out.
Right.
They show 474 migrants crossed in 8 small boats yesterday, taking us over the 50,000.
Well, can we just make a bit more of a fuss of that? When the news breaks, it breaks here first, Mark. So we knew this yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm almost 24 hours ahead of time.
That's good.
Because we have a wonderful producer, Chris, who is out every day that there are small boat crossings on the cliff top overlooking the harbour, and literally with a clicker filming and counting every migrant as they come off the boats. So in a day when you may get 700 or 800, he is only ever out by 1 or 2 over the course of that day.
Mark, remind us, if you would, what was the number that we reported last night at around, gosh, it was just after 8 o'clock, wasn't it? Compared to what the Home Office has now officially got published in the last few minutes on their website?
Well, that was slightly... There was a late arrival, so it's going to differ. But we broke that we'd gone over 50,000 by 50,224, I think we were up. We then crossed to about 50,300. And then this morning and into this afternoon, Chris tells us that just under 300, 298 to be precise, have been landed at Dover. So that's, what, 50,600 now. And there's still 2 more small boats out there making their way to UK waters. So
right
at
now.
least another 100, to add to that. So
wow. No, I mean, it is easy. I mean, it's
like Groundhog Day,
I
isn't
don't
it?
want to bring up a Stalin quote, but I will.
What?
You know, Stalin said 1 death is a tragedy, 1 million deaths is a statistic. And when we're talking about these numbers, and we just talk about the numbers each and every day, oh, another 600, another 1,000, another... You can just lose the scale of this in and amongst the numbers. But let's be clear, each one of these individuals who come over, each and every one of them is a hotel space, is a stipend on a government debit card to spend money however they want each and every week, is new clothing for these people, and all of the bells and whistles that many councils provide, whether it's art classes or free e-bike rides and everything else. I mean, these all are individuals coming across, most of whom, I'm going to say it, even though lots of people will deny it, are economic migrants, and each of them is a significant cost to this country.
You make a very good point. And on the economic migrant point, I absolutely concur with you, having for many years now been a regular visitor on the other side of the channel and interviewing these people and interviewing them when they've got here. And the vast majority have told me that they're not fleeing war zones, but they are coming for a better life, leaving behind them wretched conditions and dysfunctional governments often, but not really someone that you would consider to be a refugee fleeing a direct war zone. That changed in the years that ISIS was in operation, and we saw a significant number from Syria coming over, for instance. But for the most part, I would assess most of those coming over as economic migrants as well.
And a lot of these people, I mean, you can't blame them as individuals. I mean, if you come from a sub-Saharan African country,
I think you can, really.
And you have, you know, you're living on $1 or $2 a day, and you don't have much economic opportunity. You are looking for a better life, and you have these people telling you this is the way to have a better life. You get on this boat, and you'll have nicer living quarters than you've ever enjoyed ever before in your life. You'll have all of these things provided for you out of the generosity of the British government, and it almost seems semi-official, because you get on the boat and the boat doesn't just rock up on a beach and you run off. No, you're picked up by the British Coast Guard, and then you're processed by the British asylum system. You're told exactly what to say, and then you're given all of this stuff from the British taxpayer. I mean, to someone travelling from sub-Saharan Africa, not a war-torn country, but a poor country, might think, well, this is the way to get a better life, and it seems so official.
Well, I do agree that I don't blame people for wanting to better their lives when they come from countries that, you know, their existence is often squalid. I do blame people that pay criminal gangs to smuggle them over multiple countries and then to break into our country. That should not be happening. And our government, successive governments, have failed to get to grips with this, and they continue to do so. And you're right about the numbers. You know, we can get lost in the sheer volume of numbers, but actually, just today, in the number that have arrived so far, 298, that's more than a hotel full. somewhere in the country.
And I'm sorry, but besides the economic cost, I think a lot of people's worry is the safety element and the fact we're supposed to believe that somehow our government and local communities are going to be able to integrate all of these men from vastly different cultures, different backgrounds, different countries, just suddenly rocking up on the shores. I mean... Anyway, we continue, don't we? We battle on, Mark, and it's good to at least show this issue for what it is.
And finally, that point that we were going to talk about
Kemi Badenoch, yes.
on what Kemi Badenoch had said about camps, you know, migrant camps possibly being the way forward. I think she's got something there. Migrant hotels are clearly not acceptable to people right across the country. Putting them in, you know, council houses of multiple occupation in a street near you is clearly not acceptable for the vast majority of people in this country. So actually, you know, purpose-built or specially adapted camps with maybe Nightingale-style porta cabins and things like that that can be used to house these migrants is probably the way forward. However, what I will say is the Conservative government, the last time they were in power, did then bow to a lot of public pressure on the use of former military bases to house these migrants. And I think that was probably a sensible solution. Of course, there are some people in that local area who are not pleased about it.
Yeah.
But as least worst option, it was probably the one.
OK.
Well, we'll see if they can make that change.
Thanks indeed for joining us. Now, we're going to cheer you up a bit. It's time for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to live mortgage or rent-free for a year, plus 5,000 quid in tax-free cash, or 15,000 quid in tax-free cash if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay. Here are the details.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure, because why not? And if you don't have a mortgage or rent to pay, lucky you. We'll give you £15,000 tax-free cash instead. What are you waiting for? Lines will close on the 29th of August. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB15 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 29th of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 27 minutes past 2. Now, commuters who tackled a tube passenger that dropped his trousers, or who dropped his trousers on a packed London Underground carriage, could face arrest.
Yes, British Transport Police believe the man, who has since been detained under the Mental Health Act, was assaulted on the District Line, and they're looking for witnesses.
So it raises the question, should you step in to stop disruption or crime on public transport?
Well, joining us now to debate this is former Met Police Detective Mike Neville and the former Detective Chief Inspector Dave McKelvey. Mike, I'll start with you. If you're presented with a threatening incident on a tube or a train or a bus, should you intervene?
Well, personally, I have always intervened, and even that since I've retired from the police. You know, I'm a former soldier. I don't like to see people being treated badly, and I've always thought I'm there to stand up for the little guy or the women and children on the on that particular form of transport. And what people have seen, of course, in London is that under Sadiq Khan, the actual crime level has doubled from 11,000 to nearly 24,000 crimes on the tube, and they don't see the police. I know that Dave, who's the other guests, provide some excellent security cover and sort of policing assistance. But what people don't see, they don't see police officers. And what are you supposed to do if you're on that tube with your wife and children and that man's there exposing himself? He was asked quite reasonably to put his trousers back on. All he did was swear at the people. He's got a belt, which could have been used as a weapon. And everybody, every citizen is entitled to use reasonable force to make an arrest of somebody who has committed a crime. And so I think the police should really be focusing on the lawbreakers, stop visiting shops in Wrexham and telling them to stop putting signs up saying stop thieving because you're a scumbag, and target on the thieves and bad people. That's my view. I wouldn't get involved because that's me, but of course it's a personal choice when you've weighed up all the risks.
OK, let's throw that over to Dave. Dave McKelvey, people have a right to use reasonable force to stop law-breaking happening in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, they do. I mean, everybody has a power of arrest under Section 24A of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, that you can detain someone who is committing an offence or who has committed an offence. That's a power that everybody's got. But the risks are that, you know, potentially injury, serious injury to yourself or to other members of the public. You could end up getting prosecuted, as you see now, you know, with BTP. In this day and age, stepping in has all sorts of implications. And you've seen exactly from this one that, you know, BTP are now looking to interview those people who did step in. The question really is the level of force. Is it reasonable force? Exactly as Mike says, it's got to be reasonable, and that's the point. But the biggest issue for me is it's a very violent world out there, and unless you've been trained, unless you've got some form of experience, knowledge, I'd step in. It's the same as Mike. I always would step in. But you know, we spent 30 years in the police, arresting, nicking villains and criminals. But you'll always,
you know what you're doing.
Always, have they got a knife? Have they got a gun? Are they bigger than me? You know, arresting somebody is not a sport. It's a violent act, and you can end up rolling around the floor in this day and age, potentially an hour waiting for police to turn up.
Mike, sorry, just to let Mike back in on this one. There's a problem, though, isn't there? Because people are less and less willing to even step in for minor indiscretions. So people, for example, dropping their chewing gum on the floor, or playing their music out loud, or, you know, vaping at the back of the bus. People just aren't willing to go there. Do you think that has something to do with the brazen attitudes now of some people who are doing things that are more threatening?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. And I think it's particularly difficult for women and girls as well when they see these people. They're bullies, really. They're bullies who think they can play the loud music, put the feet on the seats. They can swear and shout, annoy everybody on the bus or the tube or the train without any consequence, because no one's going to say, shut up and sit down and start behaving. I mean, what really stuns me is this, is I took my 13-year-old girl to a Bournemouth school to do some activities today. I had to speak to her about weird, strange men in Bournemouth and the New Forest. This is really, but this is how society, how Britain is good, that in a lovely, quaint place, which 20, 30 years ago, you would have never have thought of such a thing. I've had to do that. And I congratulate people. There's, of course, down in Bournemouth, there's this safeguard force, which is a community patrol, which is setting up. And it's really sad that people have lost faith in the police. I'm sure, like Dave, I was proud to be a Scotland Yard detective, but now I just see the police, they're sticking up for the wrong people. They're sticking up for the people who expose themselves, the people who steal, rather than the decent folk who just want to live their life in a reasonable way.
Well, I'm afraid we have run to time here, but Dave McKelvey and Mike Neville, thanks indeed for joining us and talking through this more and more pertinent issue. We're seeing more instances of this almost everywhere, where people are sort of stepping in where sort of the law enforcement have stepped back.
Yeah, let us know if you've stepped in and it's gone wrong or it's gone well. Let us know. Well, it's a Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up. Yes, Nicola Sturgeon, remember her? She says she can't breathe freely now in Scotland, and hints she could actually be on the move, swapping Edinburgh for, God forbid, London. That's after the headlines.
Very good afternoon, 2:30. The top stories this hour. Over 50,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel since Sir Keir Starmer took office, with more than 220 more arriving so far today. Despite a partial deal with France and the promise of stronger measures, the Prime Minister admits it will take time to reduce the crossings. Britain's universal credit claimants have reached a record 8 million people, with nearly half exempt from work requirements. New claims average 58,000 each week as the cost of living squeeze continues. Meanwhile, UK unemployment has held at 4.7%. That is the highest in 4 years. The latest figures show job vacancies have dropped by 44,000, while wage growth remains at 5%. Sir Keir Starmer will join European leaders and Donald Trump on a call before the president meets Putin in Alaska. The UK warns peace must be built with Ukraine, not imposed on it, while Trump suggests land swapping might be needed to end the conflict. Britain's facing highs of 34 degrees today in the latest heatwave, prompting health warnings. The UK Health Security Agency has issued alerts with concerns over heat-related deaths and wildfires. That's it from me for this afternoon. Tatiana Sanchez will be here at 3 o'clock with all the latest.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. We had some thundery showers overnight. Any remaining ones should ease away this morning. Cloud widely clearing to blue skies, but it is set to be another day of sunshine and hot temperatures. And it's all thanks to high pressure towards mainland Europe, dragging in a southerly flow of air. And we're really picking up a lot of that heat from mainland Europe. And at times we could still see some remnants of those showers across northern parts of England, Northern Ireland. But as I say, they should ease away into the afternoon. And a thicker area of cloud towards the northwest of Scotland, at times across the Northern Isles. This may produce some light outbreaks of rain, but for the large majority of the country, plenty of sunshine and another hot day. Widely across the Midlands, parts of South and South East England, we are going to be pushing into the mid-30s with high UV levels, so do take care in the sunshine. Now, those blue skies may just start to be replaced by something a little cloudier across some southern and southwestern coasts. Otherwise, plenty of sunshine to finish off the day. Still a risk of showers just starting to push into Northern Ireland and similar across parts of Scotland. But any showers should be mostly isolated, and still that thicker area of cloud lingering across the far northwest, creating a hazy end to the day. And through the course of the evening, we'll see more and more of that cloud push in from the English Channel, moving into parts of south and southwest England and perhaps parts of Wales. And any inland areas could start to see some low cloud develop, possibly some fog in prone spaces. But otherwise, it should remain mostly dry, and it is set to be another mild and muggy night. Many towns and cities, particularly once again across central and southern parts, not dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So it's going to be another mild and possibly quite uncomfortable night for some. Now, any cloud lingering through across Wales, parts of southwest England, should eventually break up through the course of the day, allowing those blue skies to redevelop. Still a risk of showers across the far north of Scotland and potentially some across the far southeast. But once again, another dry, sunny day and feeling warm in the sunshine.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Drivers should know the Ingliston Park and Ride is full. Consider using Hermiston Gate Park and Ride instead. On the M6 northbound in Warwickshire between Junction 3 and Junction 3A, a broken down vehicle has closed 2 lanes. On the A34 southbound in Oxfordshire, 1 lane is closed due to a broken down vehicle between the A415 and the A4130. The M27 westbound in Hampshire is congested between Junction 2 and 1, with a 15-minute delay expected. And on the trains, East Midlands Railway has disruptions between Bedford and Kettering, and London Overground faces delays through West Croydon. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 38 minutes past 2. Now, Nicola Sturgeon is revealing all in her new memoir. And it's not just politics.
No, the Scotland's former First Minister says that life north of the border can feel like living in a goldfish bowl.
And now she's even hinting at swapping Holyrood for the hustle of London.
So is the standard bearer for Scottish independence really going to give up Scotland for England?
Be quite something, wouldn't it? Should we speak to the former SNP member, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Crawford? Stuart Crawford, thank you very much indeed for your time on this one. I mean, this is quite the change for Nicola Sturgeon. As Tom said, she's been working for Scottish independence, a lover of Scotland and all it has to offer, apparently. But she quite fancies a trip down to London, permanently, potentially.
Yes, I mean, it does seem slightly counterintuitive that having campaigned all her adult life to separate Scotland from England, on her imminent retirement from politics, she's thinking about moving to England, which through the political prism is perhaps not the best choice, but she's free to go where she likes. I think perhaps if she said she was going to move to Amsterdam or to Copenhagen or to Dublin, that might have gone down slightly better. But, you know, we have open borders still. The Hadrian's Wall is still possible. So, and I guess in London, the only question will be amongst the Chatterati is how will it affect house prices?
It sounds like she thinks she'll have much more fun down in London. She has spoken a little bit about her sexuality not being binary, but she doesn't want to talk about specific details, of course. And she's spoken about how she's excited about the next phase of her life, referring to it as her delayed adolescence. So perhaps she's looking to, you know, try out the nightlife down in London.
Yes, indeed. I mean, she's been politically active since she was about 16. So in many ways, her adolescence was taken up campaigning and leafleting, and not perhaps the sort of things that you and I might have done at that sort of age. Although I hesitate to speculate on that. But yeah,
I don't know. The youth wings of political parties can be all sorts of.
They're awful. They're awful. However, I think that it's almost as if it's a midlife crisis. What with talking about moving to London, sadly getting divorced from her husband. Divorce is not a good thing ever. And then getting herself her first ever tattoo. It sounds the equivalent of a bloke starting to wear chunky jewellery and buying a sports car.
I didn't know about the tattoo. What do you know? Do we know what it is?
Yeah, it's you can find it online, but it's a sort of, it's an arrow which has been morphed into a infinity sign between the fletching of the arrow and the point of the arrow. So if you like, it sort of goes round itself a couple of times. And apparently, according to her, she designed it herself, and it's on her wrist, or right wrist, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's tatted up down to London.
Political tattoo I know of was Samantha Cameron on her ankle, but that was more of a 2010 sort of bit of it.
She has a fashion brand. Perhaps Nicola will follow.
But what is Nicola Sturgeon sort of pivoting towards? I mean, she devotes quite a long time to some of the chat shows that she's been on in the United States of America in this memoir. Is she pivoting from politician to personality?
Well, I think that I have only met Nicola Sturgeon a couple of times, and I should say that she has always been perfectly pleasant towards me, so I've got no personal axe to grind here at all. But I think she may have been caught up with the cult of celebrity because she's particularly well known in Scotland, obviously. There's only 5.5 million people up here, which is half the population of London, and she is living in a bit of a goldfish bowl. But I think that if you look at the context and substance of her media interviews, she's obviously thinks that she is bigger, perhaps a bigger personality than she really is. And her current round of,
yes.
Our current round of the media outlets is actually been pretty catastrophically bad because she seems poorly prepared for many of the questions she's being asked.
Was she lucky with when she happened to become First Minister in Scotland? Of course, she was there in the sort of fallout of the EU referendum. She tried to campaign on that, but actually lost her majority up there in the Scottish Parliament. But then COVID came. And COVID, of course, was maybe more than anything the making of Nicola Sturgeon. She was able to broadcast herself into every Scottish household. She was able to set rules that were different from the rest of the United Kingdom. She was able to wield a lot of power, a lot of executive authority, but also just be a very dominating presence across the media. North of the border, you couldn't escape her.
Oh, absolutely. And at the moment, you can't escape her. But I think that the truth of the matter is that with the resignation of Alex Salmond as First Minister of Scotland in the aftermath of the failed 2014 referendum, then the cause of Scottish independence has gone downhill. It's a sort of managed decline, if you like. And Nicola Sturgeon was definitely helped by the fact that she chose to beam herself into everyone's house during COVID, which gave her a huge presence. But her successor, Hamza Yousaf, was really not worth anything at all. And now John Swinney is just continuing to manage the decline in the independence movement.
Well, it does appear that way. Stuart Crawford, as ever, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us about this. Let us know your thoughts. I've been having a little look at the inbox, and yes, I'm not sure she's going to be welcomed by some of you if she does move to England.
Well, there was a time in around the 2015 general election when people were asked, people were demanding that the SNP could stand candidates in places like London. I think there was sort of a mythos built around that sort of Sturgeon cult of personality and all the rest of it in those early days when they won almost every seat in Scotland, and people were sort of thinking, oh, isn't this brilliant? And then you do actually see some of the outcomes of the SNP government in Scotland over the course of the last almost 2 decades. 18 years they've been in power now, and it is. It hasn't gone entirely smoothly.
Well, perhaps she's coming to a bar in Soho near you, maybe, with her new tattoo. A midlife crisis, if that's what it is.
Gosh, well, we'll keep an eye out.
Keep an eye out for Nicola.
But this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and if you're in search of some holiday sunshine, more even than in the United Kingdom at the moment, I don't know where you could possibly go to find more sun than here, but here's the weather.
dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Looking ahead to tomorrow, and across many parts of southern Europe, there will be some showery rain around, but plenty of sunshine. And I think the biggest talking point is the exceptional heat. Some very warm air over North Africa has spread northwards into parts of Spain, Portugal, and is going to push into France and Germany as well. Coastal spots are going to be, well, very warm, but it's inland areas where temperatures are going to be exceptionally high, both by day and by night. Plenty of sunshine, like I said, however.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's coming up to 10 to 3. And have you noticed it's a little bit hot outside?
Have I noticed?
Have
I noticed?
Yeah.
Yes, I have, Tom. It's absolutely sweltering. I can't cope in this heat.
It's almost as if we're sort of midway through August, when it generally, in this part of the world, gets a little bit warmer.
I know, but unfortunately I don't have a garden or a pool at my disposal very easily.
Oh.
So,
well,
the heat is... There are parks, yes, but as a heavily pregnant woman, you don't particularly want to be sitting on the grass.
No, there's always air conditioning.
There's no air conditioning in my apartment.
It's actually surprisingly you can get sort of portable air conditioning units with you just sort of put a tube out the window, and they're only a couple of £100 in some cases.
It's a safety hazard.
Yeah, maybe, but it's actually, when you look into it, it's surprisingly affordable.
Well, Maybe I will look into it for next summer. It's probably a bit late now. But Jack Carson, he's been in Weston-super-Mare at the beach for us, and there he is, shades on, linen shirt on. And what are you eating now, Jack?
Well, you can't come to the seaside without having some fish and chips. Honestly, here, it's very hot, you're sweating all the time, but just get some chips and all your problems go away. That's my life advice anyway. But lots of people here doing exactly what I'm doing. I had my ice cream earlier, that went everywhere. Thankfully, the chips haven't, although I am eyeing up some of the seagulls in the sky that seem to be circling overhead. But lots of people around me here on the beach just enjoying the great British sunshine. We're getting this hot and humid air coming in from southern Europe, that high pressure meaning parts of the country are having amber heat warnings, parts of the southeast, further up north in the Midlands as well, all because temperatures could reach the likes of 34 degrees today. We've hit 30 here in Weston-super-Mare and it's glorious sunshine and there's a little bit of breeze, so it's just like you've just got a permanent fan on you all the time. But here on the glorious coast, we've been speaking to a few more people who've been here enjoying the sunshine. Here's what they've told us.
It's great to see seafront promenade so busy, and the weather brings the best out of everybody, I think. So yeah, lovely day today. It's going to get warmer too.
It's absolutely glorious. It's going to be too hot later, so it's early in the day and we're making the most of it now. But you can see how busy it is, so many people down to enjoy it. Why wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Just amazing. It's like being on holiday. It's lovely.
You can't beat England for the countryside, but we do sort of rely on some decent weather, and we're getting this year, it's been exceptional.
So you heard those people there, they're absolutely loving the sunshine today, and why wouldn't you? It's 30 degrees here, why would you want to go anywhere else? Nothing really beats the British seaside.
Oh, it's absolutely fantastic. And the chips and fish, or indeed fish and chips as well.
I'm quite hungry now.
Excellent to see you tucking in there. You had an ice cream a little bit earlier, fish and chips now. I mean, what else is there left to do at Weston-super-Mare? I mean, are you...
Helter-skelter?
Helter-skelter. The pier behind you, what else is there?
Well, there's the pier behind me. That was built originally in 1904. There is some candy floss I can see. There are some donuts. There's some kiddie trampolines further on, a bouncy castle. There were some donkeys earlier. I'm not sure whether they've gone home. It might be a bit too hot for a donkey ride this time of the day when it's 30 degrees outside. But there's so much here at the seaside for people to do, and the kids very much getting involved, especially with those donkeys. They have been very busy today.
Fantastic stuff. Well, Jack Carson, it's the toughest job in broadcast journalism, of course, a day at the seaside, but thanks indeed for joining us and sharing in, what is not a bad gig, really.
Have you ever ridden a donkey?
I've never ridden a donkey, actually.
I'm sure the animal activists won't be happy with that.
I've ridden a camel.
You've ridden a camel?
Yeah.
I've ridden an elephant. That's another thing some people disapprove of.
That's great.
Yeah, in Sri Lanka, no less.
I think an elephant can really take it.
I think so. It wasn't that heavy.
No. Maybe not now.
I think it's more about potentially how they're treated in captivity, but I was nice to the elephant at least.
Well, thanks for sticking with us for this episode of Good Afternoon Britain. We're, of course, back at 12 o'clock tomorrow, midday, as with every day. But up next, it's the one and only Martin Daubney.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Plenty of late evening sunshine to end the day, but it will eventually see more cloud pushing in from the southwest, and for all it is set to be another mild and quite muggy night at times, and that's still due to a southeasterly flow bringing in that warm air from the near continent, and at times it is going to pick up some moisture from the English Channel and drag in some quite low cloud at times across parts of Wales and across southern counties of England, leading us to a fairly murky start. Also a fair few showers just pushing into northeastern parts of Scotland. These could be heavy. You may even hear the odd rumble of thunder overnight. But for many, it's set to be dry. It is going to be warm once again, though. Some towns and cities, particularly across central areas and parts of the south, not really dropping much past 17 to 18 degrees. So another warm, muggy start to the day. And quite grey in places, particularly southern Wales, southern counties. But this cloud will break up through the course of the day, perhaps thick enough at times to produce the odd isolated shower. A much brighter start, though, across Northern Ireland. around northern parts of England, some sunshine to start the day, and then still some showers just lingering on across the far north and northeast of Scotland. Some thicker cloud towards the northwest too, which once again may lead to a murky start in some isolated places. But any low cloud will lift and break through the course of the morning, particularly across parts of the southwest, leading to once again another dry, settled day. Plenty of sunshine by the time we reach the afternoon. There are some isolated showers just pushing into parts of Scotland, maybe even later across parts of the southeast. Some of these could turn heavy and thundery, but for most, dry, settled, feeling hot once again. Highs reaching around 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, this time more across eastern and northeastern parts of England. Later on into the evening, once again, we do just need to keep an eye on those showers across the southeast and across Scotland in case they do start to turn quite thundery. And then for the rest of the week, the start of the weekend, plenty of sunshine once again, and still feeling warm where we catch the sunshine as well.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We want to send some of those monthly financial stresses packing this August with your chance to be mortgage or rent-free for 12 whole months. We'll give you a cash lump sum that equals 12 of your monthly mortgage or rent payments, right up to an amazing £20,000. We'll also throw in an extra £5,000 on top of that for good measure. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number